Hello and welcome to yet another video. This is the third episode in which Naruto's childhood happens differently. After an incident, Naruto grows up as a guest of the Hyuga clan, but he is more interested in his clan's legacy and aspires to be Hokage. However, a certain fox always gets in his way. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Let's get the show started. A bandit was said to have harassed several travelers, as per the report. The Hokage instructed Team 8 to deal with the bandit. Despite being armed, the man responsible is not considered a threat, leading to the classification C. Kurenai expressed gratitude by accepting the scroll with mission details and saying, "Thank you Hokage-sama." She told her genin, "Give us your gear and we will be at the gates in 1 hour." Team 8 took a break for the day after traveling northwest for several hours. A small river ran alongside a mountain, which was located in the forest they had discovered. Despite having the time to travel for an hour, they found the location to be a pleasant place to set up their camp and enjoy the peacefulness of the surrounding area. Naruto sent out several clones to collect wood, food, and water for his team, while Kurenai observed. Playing with a water balloon, the original did not do much. She finally answered, "What's up with the balloon?" Hinata also appeared, displaying her interest. Naruto shrugged off the idea of Jiraiya-sensei performing a peculiar maneuver, saying, "It's quite strange," in response. He consistently referred to the pervert as his sensei in these situations. "Do you mean a balloon?" Despite the old man's odd behavior, I can't deny his talent. One of the three legendary men, Kurenai smiled and acknowledged that Kakashi had already informed him about his involvement in the genin's development. "What is his intention for you?" Naruto tapped his thumb and placed his hand on the ground. It was a small orange-colored toad. It screamed, "What the hell am I?" Naruto asked, "What the hell was that whole water balloon thing again?" with a brief interruption. The frog's expression was one of sighing. The process involved manipulating the rotation of the water to make the balloon pop, followed by testing rubber balls and emptying them without ejected. "Are you in on it?" Naruto asked, before lowering his balloon to face his new sensei and teammate. Ero Sennin conveyed to Gamakichi that it was so. He failed to clarify the point, and as a result, we're uncertain. Returning to Kichi, Naruto inquired, "Can you please spare some time for us to practice today?" "No, as Pops only called me and Tatsu over for training." Naruto nodded off and the toad vanished shortly after midnight. "You use toads to communicate with Jiraiya-sama," Kurenai exclaimed in a triumphant manner. "Gamakichi and I have hobbies such as playing card games and practicing jutsu. I can also use the bigger toads as weapons in fights." The size of an apartment block-sized toad is truly a powerful animal. Hinata looked at Naruto's use of certain techniques with a smile on her face. "Is it true that a significant amount of chakra is required for this jutsu? I initially struggled to summon a tadpole, but eventually found the technique easy to use and most frogs were easily summoned. Provided they gave their approval, at least. Big ones, like Kichi's dad, took a lot more." Naruto's reaction to summoning Gamabunta was a scratch on the back of his head, as he almost killed himself. "Although, it was partly due to his attempt to eat me." Kurenai said, "Hit you?" "Alright, I say YUP. Bunta's leadership of the toads makes him feel a great sense of pride." Naruto shrugged off the notion that Jiraiya was pranking him and didn't enjoy having someone like him in his life. Jiraiya put in a lot of effort to calm him down. "Are there any other individuals who have summoning contracts?" Kurenai responded with a smile, "Naruto, that's not common." "Hinata, I believe the Hyuga have a contract with us, but our clan hasn't signed one yet," said the girl with tears in her eyes. Kiba growled and jumped up as they approached, warning him to stop underestimating himself. "You should be aware that your family is filled with foolish individuals, but it's not your fault." Naruto observed his gaze towards him. "Are you aware of a contract that is primarily family-related? Is that something that's not commonly used? Hinata asked, softly. I think the party that wants to be summoned usually doesn't want to talk about it, so we rarely have any conversation about this. While Naruto acknowledged the intricate nature of summoning contracts, he frowned. In order to summon the creatures that were required, either the Hyuga breached the contract or became untrustworthy. Naruto disposed of it, so he could inquire about it with Chie upon their return home. He said to Kurenai, now that we are all assembled, should I place some sentry seals? He stalked off. He separated himself from people like this, but that didn't stop him from doing it. It's surprising that he didn't fall victim to his own mistakes, she expressed. The sight of Hinata's eyes, which followed the boy, caught her attention. It's possible that she could regularly engage in combat with Hinata and Naruto, as it can help her develop her chakra reserves. The two can become closer together, which is a good thing for them. I must start with something to eat. Is the bandit here with you? Kiba inquired. Based on our understanding, it appears to be true. A katana-wielding man with black hair and average body is responsible for robbers in this area, explained Kurenai. What are our plans? Hinata questioned. At the same time, Naruto and you established a camp on the hillside. The area will be explored by Kiba, Akamaru, and myself. We should be able to detect his fragrance. Hinata turned to Naruto when the three fled. She immediately followed him, as he was already moving, and sent out 12 clones to gather resources before ordering another dozen to set traps near their campsite. According to Naruto-kun, is it plausible that the gangster will attempt to strike us from here? If the man possesses intelligence, he will perceive us as difficult targets and we must find him while attempting to avoid us. It's possible that you are, she quipped. Naruto observed her closely. If I make a mistake, please correct me, he said. I'm not concerned about whether the individual is intelligent enough to assault us. This guy would be a good match for Sensei. Kiba and Akamaru would not be defeated in any other scenario. You would obliterate him before anyone else could understand what happened. Zap? Naruto's response to the question, I saw your Juken on occasion, was dismissive. I'm not saying that you are as fast as Niji-san, but I think he has the advantage in terms of his reach and power. His age is a factor that determines his success, as he's 1 year older. Niji-Nizen's Juken skills were described as genius by Hinata, who was disappointed in the situation. He was probably hesitant when you dash. You outperformed me at Academy. Hinata's blush turned red when he placed his hand on her shoulder. Even though he smiled, she couldn't help but notice her blue eyes. She realized that the reason for his concealment was not her own, as she knew what he was hiding. Here, he announced, throwing her a water balloon. The 2 tents were set up by him using another pair of clones. Kichi informed me that I had to make the water spin at a high velocity, exclusively using my chakra, and pop the balloon. As he demonstrated his plan, Hinata activated her Byakugan. Emi, what's the deal with you? In Naruto-kun, the water is only moving in one direction, and the balloon is too firm to pop out of it. He scowled and observed her. You believe that a continuous flow will cease to exist, so why would I be successful if I interrupted it? Hinata was hesitant to give any feedback, as she was too afraid to express herself. Spit it out, go ahead, Naruto said with a frown. He pondered, would you like to be known as Hinata-sensei before anything? Absolutely not, she muttered bluntly. No. It's not necessary to do it. It's not at all serious. Is it possible to create multiple flows instead of one, given that water may flow in different directions at the same time? Naruto's expression was one of deep thought, a frown. I had the conviction that the speed of rotation would be the most crucial factor. Naruto was impressed by the balloon's ability to stretch out with just one flow. I didn't think about that, I saw it turning flat, and I knew it had to be like an orb, he said as a smile. Hinata thanked him with a smile, and he quickly prepared another set of Kage Bunshin to speed up the training. Kurenai pondered the events outside her camp and concluded, "Let's practice it together." Once again, Naruto appeared to be happy and had his clothes drenched with tears. The boy removed the shirt to dry and donned a mesh undershirt for Hinata, who blushed profusely. The latter was acquired by him following the Zabuza mission. Naruto was convinced by Haku's needles. It was successful, he declared. Hinata is a visionary. What the hell did it happen to me? Kiba's frown was drawn. Naruto retrieved another water balloon from the storage scroll, held it up with his right hand, and caused it to burst into pieces. Akamaru reacted by shouting at him after the water hit him. Naruto expressed his sympathy by stating, "Sorry Akamaru," with a smile. "I've been experiencing persistent frustration from this exercise." Kiba expressed his dissatisfaction by uttering, "What is that for?" Illiteracy is a common observation made by some people. Hinata's weakened state persisted. It took Naruto a few hours to master how to pop the balloon. At least one of his bunshins did. She utilized the Byakugan to assist him whenever feasible, while also trying to mimic his behavior. After a few minutes, Naruto had the ability to pop the balloon within seconds thanks to the joint knowledge of all the clones. Hinata felt somewhat let down by her ability to do what he did with such ease. She had never before realized how much better her new teammate was. Despite her own experience, she watched him struggle during his training to improve his chakra control. His teachers had taken on the task of training his faulty aptitude, which had become a significant undertaking. She suspected she knew the reason behind his difficulties, as it was likely Kyuubi who attempted to hinder Naruto's growth. Controlling two chakras simultaneously would be a daunting task, not to mention the potential resistance from the demon. Despite feeling fatigued from her attempts to mimic Naruto's training techniques, she had a sense of pride in him. The rewards of his efforts were immediate, and Konoha would witness the mistake made by Naruto's misjudgment. After dinner, Kurenai opted to allow her students to practice teimuching on their swords. Despite Kiba's speed and strength, Hinata was always difficult to match. Her flexibility was quite impressive. Naruto felt like he was failing, especially since Kiba was running around him. Kurenai's expression was one that indicated he didn't smile. Kiba was more than willing to admit his disdain for Naruto and retracted on him. What was the reason for Naruto's slower pace? Hinata interrupted her two teammates and spoke in Naruto-kun. How can this be explained? Naruto inquired about the items on your arms and legs, clarifying that they were gifts from Gai-sensei. Oh, I believe it was given to you by a mysterious being, she explained. For the purpose of training, he said. Although they are a bit heavy, I have to admit it. Kurenai inquired about weight training. You're still using the weights, right? What about you? Kurenai questioned whether Guy had informed him about the chakra concentration in those weights. The weights would become heavier as the user's chakra levels increased. Kurenai was not required to undergo a dojutsu due to Naruto's excessive investment in them. The back of Naruto's head was shivered as he spoke. Sure. He demonstrated the method to me. I invested a lot of effort to allow me to move around without any hindrances. Nevertheless, I had to put on weight gradually. What is their weight? Kurenai sighed. Naruto muttered and flung the object he had on his right arm towards her. He had only added a small amount of chakra to it. The weight he miscalculated caused it to land in front of her. The spot where it landed with a collision of rocks. Naruto. Must be at least 30 kilos, Kurenai stressed, then patted her forehead in delight. She made up a mental story to call out the loud Jonin when she saw him again. Gai-sensei relayed the information to me. Naruto shrugged off the idea that if she put in a lot of effort, she would improve quickly. Due to the strengthening of his body by chakra, he didn't feel that the weights were overly significant. In spite of that, they did reduce his speed. Did Naruto say that he warned you against overworking yourself? I was a bit sidetracked when he revealed to me how much bushy brows trained with. Kurenai sighed, acknowledging that these things are far from being so heavy. Put them down their side for the time being. You can put on weight after our mission, but be a little more sensible. Upon returning the weight to him, she suggested that they both weigh 10 kilos. Hinata, make sure to watch his movements carefully to prevent him from repeating such a mistake. Naruto's gaze caused Hinata to blush. Yes, Senegade, she exclaimed softly. It was clear that Kiba had the upper hand, but Naruto had trimmed his weight to 1/3, allowing him to keep up with her speed. Kiba reluctantly admitted, that's quite a training method. I'm curious if I can acquire some of those weights as well, so that I don't have to worry too much. Kiba, do you have the freedom to exercise your limits, but be mindful of overexertion? Since Naruto has a higher level of stamina, you may want to be extra careful and not to exhaust your energy. Although it may be a little extreme, I concur that it could still help to improve one's stamina and chakra system. The old-fashioned way of life is still being practiced. I say, damn it. Kiba pondered on the topic, according to him. It's difficult to fathom why Hinata is so impressed with this character, as it doesn't appear to be on par with the Naruto Academy. Naruto woke up in the middle of the night. What the? He expressed his belief. He woke up Kiba, who he had shared his tent with, after suddenly realizing what was happening. Naruto hissed, there's someone who set off the sentry seal. Naruto's retreat caused Inuzuka to become restless and curse at him. A savage, malicious individual, he growled. The absence of a beneficial scent the previous day had already annoyed Kiba. Naruto was unable to awaken his other teammate and sensei from the explosion that occurred upon leaving his tent. Naruto's expression was great, as he growled and seemed slightly confused. Although his pants remained undamaged, his shirt was scorched. The intruder was seen running away by him. Hit and run, huh? What a coward. The explosion caused Kurenai and Hinata to wake up, and as soon as they left their tent, Naruto sprinted away in darkness. A bit charred Kiba was found in the remnants of his tent, with Akamaru's head popping up under the blanket he had been sleeping on. Kurenai believed that Kiba's appearance would be indisputable if the circumstances had not occurred. She said, Kiba, I'll go after Naruto, you and Hinata stay here. She was fortunate enough to have instructed her genin to sleep in their customary attire, as nighttime assaults could result from them repeatedly hitting her. Naruto was hopping from one tree to another. The bandit was expected to be an amateur, but he moves at the speed of a proper least genin, or even chunin. This assault did not involve any explosives or paper marks, but rather involved a katan ninjutsu. He scowled. Naruto's level of concern was not significant. The new team's kindness did not diminish his pent-up anger, which he felt was still present within him. It was time to make it public. Ultimately, after dropping weights and using some of Kyuubi's chakra, Naruto caught up quickly and was surprised to see his speed. Mizuki uttered a curse word. A group of shinobi had approached the rendezvous point, and he hadn't noticed their camp until it was too late. One of them was already in a tent that had run out. Mizuki was unable to launch an attack and escape without first resorting to desperation. First, that irrational order, and then this one, holy cow. What's up with me today? I just found out that my minions had pulled the Kyuubi boy into my trap, said a deformed man who looked at the shadow of the person he was trying to help. Are you interested in taking him? The silhouette replied softly after a brief moment of silence. No, the figure replied. It is too soon for us to challenge Konoha. Furthermore, we have already established plans for Konoha, but I am not allowing any disruptions. The Kyuubi will be dealt with by us at that time. The twisted individual expressed dissatisfaction as the shadowy entity collapsed. It's clear that my minions are going to expire. His intention was to capture a few shinobi, and therefore he had some new sleeper agents in Konoha. What was once a stroke of luck turned out to be the opposite of what we had expected. Kill Mizuki is a dangerous and inexperienced person. Do not be caught, he instructed his tall, sword-wielding subordinate who had been waiting outside the small cave. Upon Kurenai's arrival, she noticed Mizuki. A teacher confronted his ex-student in a fight, endeavoring to set fire to him with poorly executed fire jutsu strikes. Die! You monster, shouted the man. Naruto was amused by the man's fear and gave way to Mizuki to fire a ball at him, while also laughing. Why bother with those small flicks when I am someone who has a kind of fire and destruction? Your pathetic attacks will not cause me any harm. He finally had the opportunity to take revenge on his detested teacher and drag him back to Konoha. He was a traitor for attacking Konoha shinobi, regardless of his actions. The taunting caused Mizuki to lose all caution. Another group of firemen charged towards Naruto, who was only taken aback by the foolishness of his former teacher. Naruto shook his head and charged towards the man, disregarding the flames and not trying to escape. Naruto uttered the words, "What an idiot," as he flung his former teacher's unconscious body to the ground. You've heard the phrase about not being a victim of your emotions in combat, but you still do this now. Kurenai jumped down as the dark-haired man charged at two others. She seized him in a genjutsu, but was too late to prevent him from throwing the blade he wielded. Naruto evaded capture, just as expected. Looking back at Mizuki's body, the swordsman realized his intended purpose. Naruto's expression was, cringe. Kurenai pondered whether the boy regretted the man's death or someone else had stolen his prey. His expression, which was more wild than human, had been seen by her only now. The squished man looked on from afar. Savvy words, but not much else. It was evident that the woman had used a genjutsu maneuver to eliminate his subordinate and then proceeded to kill him. The other two shinobi were present in their camp, but the latter cannot attack them without being alerted to it. He was not surprised by the surprise element, as he had observed a Hyuga. They caught the idiosyncratic, not the spy, he insisted. Give them the freedom to enjoy their interrogations, they won't uncover much information. He expressed some regret that Mizuki had to die. Although he had not been a useful spy until his failed attempt to steal scrolls from the Hokage's office, the man still had some talent and valuable insights into Konoha upcoming shinobi. His eyes welled up as he sighed. What a shameful act that we have been accused of. The endeavor did not succeed. The leader is not to be blamed on me, but he was the one who caused it. Kurenai brought Naruto back to the camp by defeating both his fallen adversaries with a scroll. Don't ever abandon yourself alone again, she warned him. Naruto shrugged off the fact that it could have been a slip. I'm already stranded, so who should be upset about it? Those two wouldn't have been able to prevent me in any way. Despite being a chunin and teaching at the academy, Mizuki's rank was justified for good reasons. Ah, I'm aware, smiley face. Naruto remained unequivocal in his response, trusting that Kakashi-sensei and Jizan knew who I was. The strength of the person doesn't matter, as he was just human. The demon's chakra can enhance your power, but you cannot be invincible. It's not possible to jump in. Like a seeker of death. Naruto's indifferent expression wore away her voice. I am not smart enough to overlook its impact, sensei. The possibility of death is not the most frightening experience for me. I would bring the Kyuubi down with me when I die. Kurenai retorted, you told me that you wanted to be Hokage, right? Naruto's eyes flicked as he said, it'll be funny if you do it. Yeah. If you were to adopt the mindset of a Hokage, how would your team fare in the event of your death? Naruto scowled, unprepared for such an answer. Nevertheless, you are not exempt from the statement. Naruto, no. You will not always be accompanied by a jonin while on mission, even though I was present at the time of questioning. Are you fond of your teammates? Yes, I guess, Naruto said with a frown, not expecting Kurenai to be so upset. You should consider the worth of your own life. Kurenai proclaimed. If you cannot come up with any other justification, do it for them. Is it your opinion that the Hokage would recklessly dispose of his life? He represents the whole of Konoha society. The village was in disarray after the fourth person's death, as evidenced by what I witnessed. Under the strong banner of the Hokage, Naruto, the clans of Konoha come together. Without the Hokage, the village would disintegrate once more. Is it not wise for me to take any risks? Kurenai sighed. As a matter of course, you must also be mindful of your surroundings. If you were injured, we would not be able to function as effectively as we are part of Team 8. Naruto, you are not alone. Not while being part of a team. If your goal is to become a Hokage, it's important to know that he or she should work with all the shinobi of Konoha. You're asking to be taken seriously, can you please do that? Naruto muttered. You're not alone in your sentiment. Is it your desire for me to join this team? Despite my inexperience. Kurenai responded with a firm and unambiguous response, all right, I am. The words I spoke earlier were accurate. Our team will benefit greatly from your strength as a member of our team. I truly believe that if you possess the right mindset, you have the potential to become a Hokage. No matter how much resistance you may encounter, there will be a moment when no one can surpass your might. According to her, Naruto's expression was grimy and he didn't speak. No one can do it alone, she said politely. No one can live independently without the support of others. Naruto's sensei commenced in earnest as it began, according to his pen. He didn't speak for a moment, and Kurenai wondered what the unusual expression on his face meant. The confusion did not arise. The anger is not the only thing that needs to be dealt with. He expressed his disbelief by asking, do you think? Do you believe that I am a human being? I can't say it enough. Despite being human, Naruto acknowledges the influence of Kyuubi and admits that it has had a profound impact on him. Nevertheless, if the demon reanimates me, would I still be a human if I decided to become one? Naruto wondered in the dark sky. It's possible that my identity doesn't make a difference. Categorically, whether it's a person, animal, monster, or demon. Naruto is a brand that I am considering. Although I cannot explain the impact of the demon's chakra on you, I can perceive a typical human being with an extremely strong seal. Kurenai stated that he believes you are exceptionally talented for your age and feels some praiseworthy. It's possible that the Kyuubi have a constructive influence. Kurenai offered a friendly smile, acknowledging that he is in charge. Naruto's response was uncertain, but he acknowledged his own status by saying, I am. What if that were to become clear? Good and evil can come at any point in a person's life. Kurenai taught him that evil is not a byproduct of human nature. It's in the choices you make what you want to be. Despite the challenges posed by others, I am confident that Naruto would remain unyielding. I am aware of the fact that. Naruto answered, I suppose, but didn't elaborate on the matter. I'm not concerned about the person I am, regardless of their background. The Kyuubi's words are reminiscent of how evilness is not inherent in human nature. It's conceivable that it didn't try to deceive me during that period. It could be a matter of time. Naruto acknowledged that he could manage the dislike for the Kyuubi. I'm considering giving teamwork a try, provided Kurenai-sensei has confidence in me. The boy sitting next to Kurenai was observed by her. Despite being preoccupied with thoughts, he appeared to be more accepting than his typical self. She opted for time as she desired him to prioritize working with others. To begin with, she needed to ascertain the details of what had occurred. A renegade teacher who passed away recently, and the mysterious swordsman they had apprehended. What was the correlation? Kiba and Hinata had their guard down when their sensei and teammate appeared again. Hinata was terrified by his gloomy expression, but she saw her senegade being closely watched. The girl was taken aback by the teacher's pale appearance. "Kurenai-sensei, Naruto-kun, are you all right?" She paused for a moment. "We're departing camp, let's return and report this incident." Kiba gave a shrug and looked behind him. "I'm not going to sleep well, don't worry about that." Kurenai, along with Hinata and Naruto, treated the minor burns that hit Kiba after the explosion. "What's the truth, mate?" She sighed. "I don't really know, Kiba. Irrespective of the circumstances, things do not come together in a meaningful manner." After receiving the Jonin's report, the Hokage informed Team 8 that he would have them examined by the Torture and Interrogation Unit. Mizuki fled Konoha after he tried to steal something from my office. It sounds like it was his intention to take anything he could get and give it to the bandit, but I'm not sure why the perpetrator would target the locals for attention. It could be argued that there was another individual responsible for the situation. Hiruzen's attempt to speak was thwarted when a man with dark glasses charged in, prompting him to stand up. "Ebisu, the deceased's grandson, has been lost again," and the old man sighed. The man in question appeared mortified. "Yes, Hokage-sama is right. I thought he was charging in this manner, so sorry, that's not accurate. You're also not able to knock on the door." Hiruzen made a sharp observation. "I have a mission for you tomorrow, Team 8, I believe that's what the call will be. By taking care of my grandson for 24 hours, Ebisu can receive a lecture on proper behavior and etiquette." Ebisu bled, leaped, and then exited. Kurenai's expression was one that indicated he didn't smile. "I'm sorry, Hokage-sama, but I don't want to apologize. Kurenai, your team has been impressive. My plan was to give you a few days off, but I suspect my mission tomorrow will be significant. If I were to leave my grandson alone, he would probably destroy my office. Once more. Is Konohamaru someone you could take care of for an entire day?" Naruto seemed to be in a bad mood. "At 9, you'll arrive at the Sarutobi compound." Kurenai abandoned her genitals outside the building, claiming that she had other obligations. All three of them walked together in hushed silence for a short time. "Naruto, I want to express my appreciation and say, I must thank you." Kiba made a sudden statement. "What is the term used to describe it? Why did that explosion happen? It was evident that you blocked it, but you could have evaded the danger." Naruto appeared to be slightly embarrassed as Kiba spoke. "You took a chance to save me, but it didn't make sense. I haven't been a pleasant individual." "It's a good question to ask. I feel obliged to express my gratitude." And so on. The little Inuzuka burst out with a bit of coughing. "I would like to reiterate my apology for my behavior." With a shrug, Naruto proceeded to say. He uttered the words, "We're all working together," with some discomfort. He refused to acknowledge that he had not been emotionally invested enough in the attack to avoid it. He wasn't at risk of being injured by a slight fire, after all. "You didn't behave like a team player," Kiba acknowledged, grimacing. "I don't think I understood," he said, after witnessing Hinata's sudden gaze. "You were," Hinata emphasized. Naruto's response to Hinata-sama was, "No, not really," and he laughed back at it. "I was not treated as a team player and had to adjust to the new environment." He smirked and taunted Kiba, saying, "I'll dodge it the next time." The answer is, so what, exactly? What's up with this kid in Konohamaru? Kiba inquired. She said, "Oh, I see." Naruto shrugged off the fact that he is not considered a troublesome grandson by the Hokage. Revealed him on multiple occasions, one of which was his attempt to attack the elderly man. Despite his efforts, he never achieved much success. Why did Hinata question the rationale behind his actions? Naruto's expression was one of grumbling. Unable to determine the content of this sentence. At first, I thought it was a game, but Konohamaru seems to take it seriously. In my opinion, it would be a fantastic way to train. If he were to try to escape tomorrow, you could easily locate him. Naruto smirked and proceeded to jump off, acknowledging that, I saved your ass, Kiba, it's now your turn to save mine next time. You shouldn't be too hard on Naruto-kun, Hinata declared as she watched him flee. He resides at the Hyuga estate, but has few friends within or outside the estate. He was a quiet man in the academy, Kiba said. It seems like he didn't want to interact with anyone else, much like Shino's behavior. Shino was disliked for his bugs, but Naruto received even more vile treatment without any explanation. Kiba-kun, do you think he should be hated? Hinata asked, somewhat infuriated by the response. It's not a question of course. He rescued me and Akamaru, but even when I wasn't in danger, he remained cordial. Kiba showed a frown. Regardless of his cover, I don't think he has any intention of hurting us. I don't understand why Kurenai-sensei would trust him. I can't fathom why you're so into him. Akamaru shouted. Yeah, that smell, Kiba remarked with a frown. Upon hearing Kiba's words, Hinata asked, do you smell? With her eyes wide open, she nodded in amazement. Yes, of course. There are occasions when the aroma emanating from his chakra can be considered odd. Insane, and highly hazardous. Maybe it's a strange type of Kekii Genkai, I'll ask my mum. Welcome to see you tomorrow, he added, turning towards his own dwelling. Hinata had arranged to have breakfast the next day, but her father prevented her from doing so. Hinata, did your team complete a C-rank mission? I heard you saying. How much did you contribute to the success of the project? Naruto-kun apprehended. Captured the offenders. Hayashi nodded in agreement, stating that she was aware of the involvement of one of her past teachers. Is it true that you did not play a part in this mission? No, sir, Hinata replied with reluctance. She wished she had not been present and could return to her previous place of residence. There's no need to stress that there are certain expectations when the Hyuga clan heir goes on a mission. Hayashi kept his expression cold, but his voice became more raspy. No, Dad, Hinata replied with a reduced expression. I pledge to improve my performance in the next assignment. In order to retain your heirship, it is necessary to demonstrate your competence, Hayashi stated, before turning to walk away. The experience of meeting her father left Hinata feeling disheartened. It's possible that Naruto-kun has not yet left the scene. She attempted to move on from her own depression by walking to the Sarutobi estate together. In Naruto's cottage, Hinata began to question her own identity while standing in front of the door. Once more. I'm not sure if I should be concerned. Naruto's preference is to be alone. Can you explain what I am? No, I promised Haruki-san and mother, she remarked. Before Hinata could stop her, Naruto spoke out, I've already left. Hinata looked around and saw Naruto's frown, his hands in mud, and felt a stinging pain. Oh, not a single one. Hi Naruto-kun, could you clarify your question? It's clear that I went out first, but my true physique is nowhere to be found. The clone looked at him with confusion and said, I'm just a shadow of you, I left it to do the garden. Which is more amusing than chasing after a brat. Shouldn't you just shut up and start working? After opening a window, Naruto shouted, Oh, hey, Hinata-sama, the second character replied. I'm putting in effort here, he continued to rebuke the other clone, repeating his disapproval. There are two. Chie sarcastically replied, you can easily get used to two Naruto-kuns. This morning, Naruto and Akeo-sama approached me and asked if you could assist her with shopping. Assuming you're fine, was the response of Naruto, who had opened the window for him. According to the window, Naruto's statement was, you have to do the laundry. After saying goodbye to Hinata, Naruto closed the window and proceeded with his actions. Hinata's bewildered expression made Chie wonder if it was just Naruto leaving clones behind. To aid Ako-sama and the sickly two-leg, or to hasten his education. The authentic Naruto-kun storyline is as follows. I left before, a few hours ago. He aimed to train. Alternatively, he simply craved solitude. The cat's expression of disbelief was tempered by the fact that he was not present yesterday. I predict he'll stop by the Ichiraku stand where your two legs are seemingly eating. Chie's gaze widened, as if she was contemplating her next steps. Say hello to you today, I'll be with you. I'm feeling uninterested in those two clones as Ako-sama is currently shopping. When they experience a depletion of their chakras, it is particularly distressing. Subsequently, they become bothersome. A spoiled creature was heard from the garden Naruto. I'll probably be there, but hurry up if you're not looking for long-term protection. Oh okay, Naruto-kun, Hinata said calmly before leaving. Chie observed her with a contemplative mind. I thought it was not appropriate for the two legs from the main family to bow down to others, she said, referring to their speed towards Ichiraku's side. I can't say it enough. Hinata was unsure of what to say. Sorry, Chie laughed and acknowledged that. He was glad you weren't such a proud airhead like the rest of your family. Despite the exceptions, Queen Two-Leg stands out as a standout piece. Her looks are quite similar to yours, not just in terms of physical features. After saying goodbye to Konoha's finest ramen chef, Naruto headed towards the Sarutobi complex. After dedicating an entire day to taking care of his pet, Naruto sighed with relief. Instead of sending a clone, I would have preferred to concentrate on my scrolls. The new notes found on the infernal seal I stumbled upon yesterday seemed to indicate good things. The boy's expression, Chie, hit me on the head, was met with a frown from the cat as they ran towards him. You're too early, Two-Leg, she said, and she jumped up on his shoulder. She kept her balance by having a long tail that wrapped around her shoulder and neck. I expressed my desire to go and see Princess White-Eye Two-Leg, so I thought it would be a good idea to join you for now. There's no greater source of amusement than seeing your doppelganger enjoying themselves in the garden. Naruto asked, Hinata, what's happening? Oh, not a single one. Hinata shook off and nothing. Is it possible for you to join me in walking to the Sarutobi complex? Naruto was relieved that his hearing was superior to the majority of others, otherwise he would not have heard Hinata's last few words. Naruto replied with a smile, it's all right, I don't mind at all. Despite this, we're already close to achieving our goal. Hinata appeared unhappy. Nevertheless, we're still in the early stages of our journey. Naruto acknowledged that he was too young for Ichiraku's. The training made me feel a bit hungry, which left me feeling very full. Why you are always on the go during training sessions? I'm not saying I'd be there, but I woke up early so I thought I could use my time wisely. Didn't that involve Mizuki-sensei? Hinata asked. Nay. I have no memory of liking that guy. I didn't want him to die. Naruto shrugged off the fact that he is not bothered by Konoha's death as a traitor. Chie asked, why did you have such a bad sleep, without any explanation? Her acting skills were not enough to deceive Naruto, who had grown accustomed to her pranking style. He greeted the cat with a smile and said, it's bad milk. My persistent request is for you to avoid tarnishing the fridge. Ask for a drink, rather than leaving the place messy every time. The cat's poorly designed closing mechanism left her feeling bewildered, as she defended herself. Naruto's expression was a murmur. Despite being mischievous, the cat was easily fooled by her touchy nature. Konohamaru is our responsibility today, he said, as I had reminded him earlier. There's been no exciting news to share. If he doesn't get another one of his fits and try to attack Jizan once more. It appeared to you that Konohamaru-chan was a bit of pity. Tough to deal with, Hinata. declared. Naruto's expression of approval was, "He is," and he nodded in agreement. "You'll be able to witness it right away." Upon reaching the Sarutobi clan's estate, Kurenai and her team declared their mission as they arrived at the entrance. A robust-looking, older woman approached them and guided them to the waiting area, stating that she would bring the honorable grandson to them as soon as possible. Despite her apparent lack of success, she returned with a panicked look on her face. "Konohamaru-chan has disappeared," she stated, appearing breathless. Kurenai inquired, "Would you have any information on where he could have gone?" The old woman's pale complexion caused her to lose the slightest color. "He is expected to be at the Hokage's office," straying once more towards his grandfather. Kurenai asked if it was possible to take Kiba to his room. The scent of Konohamaru-chan is followed by Kiba and Akamaru. "We will be waiting at the entrance," she ordered. Kiba sighed. Asuma-san remarked that the day ahead will be long, and Konohamaru-kun is like Naruto from his youth. He has an excessive amount of energy, but lacks the time to consider the consequences of his actions. "I've perused the reports," she grinned at the irritated blonde. Hinata chuckled as she remembered the hardships Haruki had endured during his tenure at the estate when Naruto was unruly. It had been almost impossible to teach him proper manners. Naruto asked, "Seen Asuma again? Did you cross paths with him?" Hinata noticed the smile that betrayed her, but Kurenai refused to respond. Kiba stated that he must be in this place after they had made it to the village's periphery. Naruto declared that he had the right to create the hand seals required for Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, and dispatched a group of 24 clones to survey the terrain. Hinata apologized to her sensei for the excessive number of people present. Kiba expressed her dissatisfaction by saying, "This is a really bad place," and then adding, "It's just disgusted. The smell of this place is pleasant to sniff." The old market square in Konoha was not the most prosperous area, so many vendors sold cheap goods. Products that were favored by customers with limited financial resources. Naruto had a vague memory of the place before he moved in with the Hyuga, but the other two genin, who were part of powerful clans, probably never visited the location. Those who were protected by their clan would not have to travel to places like this, which was reserved for those without a clan. Although Konoha was known for its lack of discrimination towards the clanless, it was a different story. In the ninja world, bloodlines were paramount. Individuals born into clans with such bloodlines typically considered others to be of lower status. Naruto was aware that individuals like Lee or Sakura were viewed as inferior ninjas because their clan background had little to no impact on their lives. Nevertheless, they were not as subject to bigotry as someone like Tenten, who was separated from her family. Despite being from a prominent clan, Naruto was mostly isolated because he was the final member of his clan. Sasuke was not looked at in the same way by others. The focus should be on the people rather than just birthrights. Despite being one of Naruto's most well-known kung fu figures, why is Tenten considered inferior to Ino and Hinata due to their clan status? The trait of humans was something that Naruto abhorred. "Are you a brat?" was the question asked by the second-largest child. "I was merely scanning the area for any potential issues." The biggest boy mocked his pampered selves, saying, "Are you one of those boys from the high and mighty clans looking down on the poor?" The tiniest boy exclaimed, "No, don't touch me, and I'll give you my scarf." The girl who was the only one in the group smirked, "Or what? You're going to tell your dad, and he'll send us the umbu?" The most worried boy suggested, hinting, "Maybe we should just get rid of him. He is immune to our animosity due to this reason, unlike him. He may be a modest man, but I'm betting he has some valuables on him." The craziest boy in the room responded with, "Good thought, buck teeth," saying, "I know you're thinking well. I don't think you can be saved by a clan." He grimaced, holding an axe sharpie in his hand. A calm voice interrupted them, asking, "What the hell do you think you're doing? Who am I supposed to be talking about?" The big boy scowled. Is he going to pass away also? Baekteeth stated that. Years back, that was a time when everything was different. The mother of the orphanage referred to him as a monster. After noticing his headband, the girl exclaimed, "And a shinobi," and quickly made her way out. The other person followed her cowardly path, except for the biggest boy. I'm not saying that you need to be concerned, it's just not worth it. The boy initiated the activity and then collided with the wall nearby. Naruto swishly said, "Idiot," while wiping the boy's blood from his fist. Naruto yelled out, "Konohamaru, shudder," as he realized the trouble had passed by. That's where he went, Naruto said to his companions, leaving him in shock. He was threatened by some local kids, but my clone prevented him from running away. My other clones are currently looking for him. Naruto departed from this location. The boy, who was sitting on a tree that had fallen, was discovered near the village's edge by one of his clones. The boy asked, "Who are you?" Konohamaru was unaware of his identity despite having seen him a few times before. "A clone," said the answer. Naruto's original version depicted him as a clone, jumping up and down. Uzumaki Naruto is my true self. You are a hard-to-find fellow who is quite inexperienced. Why are you here? Why not bother someone else? Naruto observed the boy's sad expression and opted to sit with him. You shouldn't wander around alone. One of the teachers commented, "I beg your inquiry, mister." In a defiant manner, Konohamaru looked at him. Naruto responded with a firm nod, saying, "It's all right now. The children gave you the freedom to do as you please without any indignation. You're welcome. What is the reason for it?" Due to his frustration, the boy was unable to speak properly. Konohamaru is a dangerous place and you shouldn't flee like this. He stated that there are too many individuals who have a deep affection for you. I'm not sure what to say, she said. They are uninterested in my well-being. Grandpa is the only thing on their mind that they care about. The honorable grandson is just how I ended up. Being born in the wrong family would make me stand out as a different person. Naruto struck him on the head with his fist. You are a loser too. The elderly woman at the estate was crying with fear in her eyes. She cherished. Your grandpa's words about you caught my attention. If you're a brat, remember that I was raised in orphanages and the people around you were not bothered by your life. Konohamaru appeared to be somewhat embarrassed at times. I just want people to see me as myself, not like the Hokage's grandson, he said softly. Naruto inquired, do you despise living in his shadow, while waiting for Konohamaru to nod off? What's the point of wasting time on running away or playing pranks on your elderly relative? Start practicing now. If you want to be acknowledged as yourself, then make yourself so strong that no one can get near you. I acknowledge that I am aware of this. Konohamaru expressed his desire to become Hokage by defeating their grandfather, as Naruto had already smacked him multiple times. What led you to do that? Do you believe that achieving such lofty goals is effortless? Would people follow you as you do, or will ordinary individuals who risk nothing be unable to reach the same heights as Hokage no Mi more? The task will necessitate a great deal of hard work and suffering. Naruto asked, how many obstacles did your grandfather face before people started to recognize him? In addition, if you're interested in becoming a Hokage, it's important to defeat me first. Upon reaching up, Konohamaru recognized the other boy as his adversary and smiled. He yelled out, I'll do it right away. Naruto's use of the Shunshin no Jutsu to reach Konohamaru caught Kurenai off guard. Despite being taught at the academy, Genin was not often able to compete with its simplicity. She and the other students caught sight of the two boys competing in a duel. The answer is yes. Squad, the duel. This is more entertaining than Ebisu, Konohamaru chanted with pride. Despite being outmatched in every move, he grinned at his opponent. Konohamaru attempted a jump that was too high and made an attempt to hit Naruto once more. The dirtiness of Konohamaru's clothes increased only after Naruto evaded him. "What are you two up to?" Kurenai asked shrewdly. Seeing the sight, Hinata looked bothered, but Kiba was slightly confused. Did Chie look at it with a smile and conclude that humans were simply foolish? Irresponsible. While Naruto's opponent was ignoring him, Konohamaru wanted to be Hokage and could only do so by beating him. Kiba opted to laugh in unison. "It's going to be a long day for me." "There are two adversaries, right?" Naruto muttered. The Inuzuka was left in the dust as 5 clones fell on Kiba. He taunted the Inuzuka by saying, "Kiba, I swooped in on Konohamaru." While the 3 boys, clones, and 1 dog persisted in their activities, Kurenai watched with eyebrow raised. Hinata was spotted standing beside her with a smile on her face. Kurenai believed that relaxation and camaraderie would enhance teamwork, so she resorted to using the bridge of her nose. Asuma's narratives about this child have been enlightened to me. She was accompanied by another Naruto who leaped down. Konohamaru was the name of the old lady, as he told her, and the clone then joined the fight with a big smile. The youngest boy labeled something as "no fair." Feeling defeated, she sighed deeply. After putting in the effort to become a Jonin sensei, she finally succeeds in this mission. She observed another Naruto sitting in a tree, watching the surroundings closely. "Are you also a duplicate?" Kurenai inquired, stunned. "What's the reason?" Ordinarily, clones are not very smart, but Kurenai's eyes expanded. Naruto effortlessly created Kage Bunshins that were completely autonomous, which required Jonin-level chakra levels. Until now she thought he had reduced the chakra in them, which made them less intelligent and skillful, but it allowed him to make more clones. Each clone appeared to be an exact replica of the original Naruto. "I doubt Hokage-sama can replicate the ability to create such things, dear Kami." They were unable to prevent Konohamaru from being exhausted for an additional hour. Naruto dispatched a few clones to gather sustenance, including Ichiraku's ramen and Hinata, allegedly the Japanese version. Naruto's chakra was usually glimpse-sized, but during his genuine happiness, it seemed as though he was radiating happiness. His enormous chakra resembled the sun's reflection, shining with a light and warm touch, unlike any other shinobi. He looked at her with a blank stare, wondering how he would have been without his burden. "Ah, hi, you all right?" The girl smiled, "I am enjoying this day." Naruto then realized something was bothering her. "Good news. You've always been preoccupied with others, but now you have to ease up on a little bit of relaxation." Kiba was the first to come back, carrying all the items required for a picnic. This was a new way for the scion of the main family to enjoy eating outdoors. The Narutos brought a different type of ramen, and Hinata was correct. While Chie slept on his lap, Konohamaru found entertainment in Kurenai's recounting of when she was genitalia. The others equally enjoyed the same thing. Konohamaru was particularly fond of young Azuma, who had also been known for his rebellious nature. "Thanks," he exclaimed, his eyes wide open. "I can finally take revenge on Uncle Smokey." When did Konohamaru ask Naruto about the distance between them and their boss? "In light of the fact that I was being bullied, what did you do to assist me?" "Boss," Naruto muttered. The little boy nodded and waited for Naruto to respond. "You were my focus," Naruto said with a shrug. "Moreover, it would have been of no use. Despite my hatred for bullies, I am happy to assist you. The reason is simple." Konohamaru asked why they called you a monster, boss. Hinata, who was walking towards them, experienced a sudden breakdown in consciousness. Naruto's expression was one of grumbling. "It's likely because I'm a shinobi." Hinata admitted to feeling jealous of ordinary people and responded with a slight blushing expression. I believe the reason they were clan-free is more likely to be the case, as I stated earlier. "Ne-chan, what's that?" "Konohamaru-chan, for example," Hinata said. Naruto stated that, many treat them as second-rate citizens, with a dark tone. The fact that they hate clans is countered by the resulting level of animosity towards each other. Konohamaru seemed perplexed when he asked why. "The place where they were born determines their existence," Naruto said softly, smiling. "Isn't it true that you are always treated fairly because of your family background, while the non-ancestral population is treated in a different way?" Konohamaru was reminded by this. What is the reason behind Jishin's actions? Despite the Hokage's efforts to bring the clans together, he is unable to force individuals to change, Naruto replied with a shrug. "If one of us becomes a Hokage, can we follow in the footsteps of the previous good example?" "Sure, right?" "Oh, that's great," Konohamaru exclaimed softly. Hinata's observation of both boys revealed her belief that Naruto could fulfill his dream. Even though he was burdened. Notwithstanding the village. Naruto is the only one who could endure. Konohamaru was taken back by Team 8 to the Sarutobi estate at night, and they returned to their homes feeling energized but content. Hinata attempted to control her fidgeting behavior as they neared the estate. "According to Naruto-kun, you seem to have developed a friendship today." "I suppose," he said with a shrug. "Why you don't believe in the notion that it is?" Konohamaru reminded me of my old self, seeking recognition but not knowing how to proceed. His voice regained its contemplative undertone as he spoke. "It's possible that you comprehend the concept of self-awareness by examining the image of what they perceive you to be. What are the things they suggest you should do? Your true self is not emphasized." Hinata's fingers flicked off, but she could not recall when they were no longer holding her. She then looked down. Naruto's expression was one of regret. "Hinata, I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't intend to bring up the matter." He stooped once more. "Naruto-kun, I'm aware, but why do people hate you?" she muttered, her eyes darkened in sadness, and Naruto froze. Looking at the girl, Chie appeared to alternate between being angry or curious. "We advised White Eye Two-Leg that she should not be acted upon directly. I understand the reasons why people dislike me, but I have to admit it. It's not your place to do that. Don't speak in such a manner." "It's always," he asserted. "Do you really believe people are counting on you to be the perfect successor? You are the one who embodies that ideal. There is no issue with you." Naruto's sigh was heard. "Nevertheless, my case is not up to par. You could say I'm not like everyone else." It was a matter of time before she had the confidence to look back at him. Upon her arrival, she observed that he had settled on a bench nearby. "You are not different," she whispered, her eyes wide open. He sneezed and observed the surroundings. I am unlike other humans." He laughed without a shred of irony, more than what anyone would suspect. "It is a matter of fact that I am the only one among all the shinobi in Konoha." Hinata nodded when Sakura looked at her during our meeting. She said, "I saw what I could do." "What is my current situation?" Two-Leg, Chie opted to caution him. "You shouldn't do it, though." "No, Chie," Naruto sighed. "Hinata has likely observed my defect from her examination of me. Byakugan can deceive any superficial lie. It's a good idea for me to finish this. This falsehood is pointless and should not be repeated." She said. "What did she do?" Naruto created rapid hand signals and activated a jutsu that prevented other individuals from hearing the words of Sakura-san. "It's possible to come and see them." Despite being limited to a small region and making movement impossible, the lesson he learned from Jiraiya was useful. It was frequently used by Jiraiya for spying purposes. His research was at risk if he was caught, after all. Kurenai-sensei and Kiba were left uninformed about my actions during my mission in the Land of Waves. Naruto's story began at the start. Hinata's cold blue eyes left her shaking in shock. It seemed as though all the emotions on his face had disappeared. The town was invaded by a multitude of mercenaries, and I expelled them all. My actions resulted in the tearing apart of their boss's heart. Naruto's sigh was heard. Sakura witnessed the truth without any doubt. She caught sight of the monster I am. You are not a monster, Naruto-kun, she said with all her might, sitting down beside him. You can't do much more than that. The reason you did it was to save the village. You are not a monster. Ask Konohamaru for details. Inquire me if you have any questions. Ask the inhabitants of that village about their experiences. You have been instrumental in saving countless lives. A monster would not be interested in others, just like you. Naruto asked do you want to know the truth? He had never been receptive to someone, but if he had to tell anyone, it would be because of his lack of trust. The nodding of Hinata left Chie feeling agitated. If you're afraid of me, I'm okay with it. You may hate me after you learn the truth, Naruto said, but Hinata's expression revealed a grimace on his face that contradicted his words. When you look at me with your Byakugan, do you realize that there are two types of chakras? Yondaime Hokage's actions during my childhood resulted in the other source. She held her breath, knowing that she was already aware of something. In Konoha, everyone keeps a hidden secret. The Yondaime was unable to destroy the Kyuubi when asked about it. He could only keep it out, so it wouldn't cause any harm to others in the future. I'll be back soon, at least, Naruto said softly, glaring at the ground with a lack of emotion. It is the reason why people are afraid and have a negative opinion of me. The day comes when they are afraid of losing control, and the man who had cursed me with his seal breaks, causing me to become the Kyuubi. It could be that I let go of the demon because I want to. I can't believe that. It's unlikely that Yu would ever be heard. Hinata, they are only half as accurate. Naruto's melancholic tone interrupted her. I can perceive it, hear it scream, touch its eye, and undergo transformation. I have a sense of evil in others, and fire has minimal impact on me. What is the reason behind my preference for two nature forms? Futon is my own creation, while Katon comes from the Kyuubites. Hinata was unsure of what to say. His face was filled with sadness, as she could see. His appearance was both enigmatic and vulnerable. She relinquished her timidness and embraced him with open arms, aware only of his agony. Naruto's head snapped as he fell into a freezing state. What is the woman doing? Why has she not run off to see me? Looks shocked or scared, did she know? Or doesn't care? Even Chie, who had decided to trust Naruto's judgment despite her own doubts, sighed in relief. She was aware that this situation could have ended badly. She was aware that the girl's rejection would have had a greater impact on Naruto. You're not a good candidate for the job, she said. He inquired, are you frightened? Her heart felt uncomfortable when she heard him almost begging her not to be scared. Naruto, I am aware that you would not cause harm to anyone. You will never be scared of me, Hinata spoke with greater force than Naruto. I can't say it enough. Can you explain what I am? Upon realizing her actions and almost saying something, she let him go with a squeaker. The question that I'm pondering is what led to my decision to choose this path. Why do you trust me so much, said Naruto. I was saved by Yu, said one. You're always so nice. Irrespective of the manner in which people treat you. You have a lot of strength, I'm aware that it can be challenging. Keep yourself united, she argued. You never gave up on anything, it continued. Despite facing harsh treatment from others, you never gave up. Despite falling multiple times, you always stood up straight away. Can you explain what I am? From my perspective, that is the real strength. With a profound impression, Naruto gazed at her and expressed his disbelief that anyone could refer to him as the monster of Konoha, showcasing an extraordinary strength and example. Chie was surprised, which was surprising considering the creature's cynicism. Hinata's eyes caused her to produce a reddish hue when both the boy and the cat looked at her. Slowly, I remember you fainting when you gave me something to eat, he said. You're left in a state of disbelief and you discover that the world's most dangerous monster is located right beside you. It's like being a philosopher in your speech. He smiled and said, I should have seen you as a strange girl before. The poor manners of Hinata's compliment left her looking distraught and she backed away slightly. I'm pleased to hear that you're not like the others, right? I didn't mean to misunderstand you, but it does make me wonder if you are abnormal. Uncommon occurrences. Naruto hesitantly attempted to correct himself by placing a hand on her shoulder. I'm envious of you and your brilliance. I'm not sure, but I can tell you something. She fainted, oh my. My big mouth and Naruto's face was smacked into his body by him. You have a lot to learn about how you should behave around women, Chie admitted, looking over his shoulder. Is it necessary to reintroduce the baby hind two-legged? Naruto was still unable to grasp Hinata's actions. Chie smiled and laughed all rightly, knowing that he would eventually figure it out. You'll come to terms with it. Despite his intelligence, he is truly blind. What would be the typical life of someone like him, considering that Team 8 had a day off after their mission with Konohamaru, which allowed Naruto to focus on other tasks instead of dwelling on his previous commitments. Moreover, providing him with time to reflect on his ideas. Hitomi had informed him that Hinata had been pulled out of her father's care for remedial training, and they had not spoken again since then. She didn't seem very pleased about it, but she appeared to be more affable than usual to him. It's possible that she had knowledge of the conversation he had with Hinata. He wouldn't be surprised if she always seemed to know everything. She had the ability to see through him, which left him both surprised and scared. When he was younger, he had a better understanding of her true personality. The memory of Hinata's conversation left Naruto feeling slightly perplexed. Despite being aware of him, Hinata did not refuse to accept him. It was peculiar. The amusement of Chie only served to confuse Naruto further. Is it conceivable that the term friends was used by people who were not friends with each other? And what made this person seem so unconventional? Naruto had only a handful of friends. When asked to name them, he would choose the names of Hokage, Jiraiya, and Haruki instead. Despite being older and having experienced the Kyuubi, these three individuals did not hold him responsible. Despite Naruto's admission that Haruki was afraid of the demon, they were aware of his identity without realizing he had a sealed demon. Despite being a unique case, Ako was his friend to him, almost like an elder sister type. He met Chie under strange circumstances, but he had complete trust in the cat and was confident that she felt the same way. There were, potentially, other individuals besides Irika. Naruto's former sensei was one of the precious few who treated him well and even offered him ice cream on ramen. Naruto was always greeted with kindness by people like Tsuchi and Ayame from Ichiraku's, even though they were probably unaware of his true nature. I would put Shikamaru and Choji in the same category, right? He wondered if Konohamaru and Kiba had been involved in something similar to what happened after, but admitted that she was peculiar. I had the impression that she eluded me because of her dislike for me, or perhaps due to fear of my presence. She instructed me to stay put, but now it seems illogical. What was the reason behind her actions? Is it girly? Apparently not, exclaimed a well-known voice. Jiraiya was joking when he saw Naruto throw the rubber ball at him, saying, "Wow, watch it, brat." What is the term used to describe it? Naruto was taken aback by the white-haired toad's journey as he stared at it. Jiraiya replied smugly, "I'm just close by when there's a problem with girls. It's my responsibility to handle it." My research skills are impressive, kiddo. Jiraiya was once again dodged by Naruto. That's not the case with that. With a smile on his face, Jiraiya joked about Naruto's actions and suggested borrowing some good books from him. Good literature has the potential to teach you something or someone. Naruto replied with the phrase, "You can't keep it up, man." Jiraiya sarcastically corrected him, saying, "I am a super pervert." "I'm not interested in comparing you to an ordinary pervert like me," Naruto said, before ending with, "You are just as crazy as ever." "When did you return?" Jiraiya inquired, indicating that his mission had been extended. "The old man had wanted me back earlier, but I couldn't do it quickly when I saw research material on the way." "Are you talking about hot springs?" pressed Jiraiya in response with a chuckle. "Your stealth seal is of great value," he shouted with a lame tone. "Sorry, Naruto, but I have to go now. The old man will kill me if he doesn't hear my report right away." "I'll be back tomorrow," the shady individual declared before disappearing into thin air. Naruto's mission for tomorrow is imminent, and he exclaimed, "I have to go now," with a smile on his face. "I'll have to discard a clone for good." The Hokage greeted the teammate with, "Good morning," upon entering his office. He signaled to the guards that they should shut the doors. "You'll likely embark on a new adventure with an extended period of time. Are we going to get another C rank?" Kiba asked, optimistically, leaving the puppy eye jutsu to Akamaru. Exclaimed the Hiruzen. "This mission has not been ranked. The outcome may be characterized as C rank, but it could also have A-like qualities." Kurenai made a unique statement by saying, "Hokage-sama. Team 8 is not ready for the challenging missions that lie ahead, as all three require additional efforts." Kurenai's statement followed his dismissal. "I am not urging any of you to undertake this task alone, as I have never done it myself. Team 8 will provide assistance to someone else. Your team was asked to help him because the problem is so unique." He commanded them to sit on the chairs that were placed in front of his desk. After putting on his pipe, he let out a small cloud of smoke and proceeded to talk to the curious team. "The information I am revealing is classified information and therefore treated accordingly. Several years back, some of our Jonin found what we believe to be a temple of the Uzumaki clan." He responded with a surprised look, "Yes, Naruto," before even trying to ask the question. "The temple is not far from Uzushiogakure, which is located near the western boundary of the Country of Fire. Considering that it was discovered decades ago, what is the reason for its mission?" Kurenai inquired. "It said, the temple was sealed off. We removed the outer barriers, but we were unable to remove the inner barriers and other items that were still inside. Those last barriers were not breached by any of the shinobi from Konoha. We were unaware of the temple's contents, so we decided to conceal it and wait for you to mature. There are indications that a Uzumaki is the only viable option for breaking the inner barrier." With a shrug, Naruto proceeded to say, "It sounds strange, but I'm happy with the outcome." Kurenai asked, "Why now?" with a frown. "It's a risky move, so why not act now? We believe that someone is looking for the temple location." Hiruzen conceded. "Oh, not a single one. Hokage-sama, wouldn't that make the mission more hazardous?" Hinata remarked. In denial, the Hokage shook his head. "As per my statement, you will serve as a source of support. At 11 o'clock, your contact will be waiting by the gates. While he may be late, it's likely that his whereabouts are in a club close to the shopping district. He will direct you and provide a detailed explanation of the mission. Wish you well." After 2.5 hours, Team 8 was waiting near the gates of Konoha. Their guide had not arrived despite the fact all of them had packed for several days and were still on the trip. Naruto's expression was, "This is like Kakashi again," and she sighed. "I'll go and get him, I'm not waiting any longer." "Where do you intend to be, Naruto?" Kurenai inquired of him. The number of experts on seals and barriers in Konoha is limited. We are aware of the man's location, which is where he lives at a club in the red light district. I am already aware of the person I need to find. He turned his gaze towards Hinata. If you have any questions, Hinata, I'd appreciate it if you could lend a hand. The girl nodded with a slight blush, and then he mentioned leaving if the clone to come back later. Naruto tipped off Hinata with his warning as the two fled. We're in search of a tall man with long, spiky, white hair that we can match. He has a considerable amount of chakra, which is comparable to the Hokage's level, making him easy to miss with his Byakugan. However, if we were to come across him, we might discover that he is involved in a situation of compromise. He is arguably the most extreme pervert in existence, but he wouldn't mind if it meant sacrificing his own standards for more normal people. Naruto believed that Jiraiya had consumed all the sake he could find and was likely in the company of some of the most expensive women obtainable with his wealth, making it easier to locate him. It's probable that obtaining him to move would be a more pressing matter. Although it may be a good time to use my secret weapon against him, I am not opposed to using it. Ugh, no. Stop knocking on the door, Jiraiya muttered, thanks for your hangovers. Why am I unable to indulge in sake without this mess? Don't knock me, I said. The Sannin was barely conscious, and his head was slurping with force like a handle. Jiraiya cried out as the voice broke into tears, Oi, Aro Sennin, get your weary buttocks out. Naruto? Let's go to sleep for a few hours, you brat. Ugh. I have a flatulence towards my stomach. He grumbled, as his body began to revolt even more. Naruto whispered to Hinata, he doesn't want to open the door. He smiled at her, even though she seemed a little sad. It's a shame I have to be so dirty with him, but there it is. Despite the events, Naruto had brought their guide with him, Oiroke no Jutsu. Hinata continued to blush, but Jiraiya voiced her displeasure about the prevalence of dishonesty and theft. Naruto said, say no more to my lack sanity, lazy pervert. It's not fair that a student should be so cruel and deceived by their master. I had a vivid imagination, but the next thing you knew, you took my money and ran away. Foul play is a common sight on television. Naruto reacted with a smirk, acknowledging that the older man had taught him to exploit his weaknesses and use them against him. Jiraiya fake-assisted charging at the boy, saying, don't be rude, please respect your neighbor. He wasn't genuinely angry, but it looked like he was too young to have such an attitude. The moment Kurenai gave a facepalm, Kiba's expression was completely disoriented, and Hinata had not yet recovered from the shock of the previous blow. The sight of Naruto's nude female version charging into the room of the elderly man was so frightening that she could barely be stopped. It is believed that the legendary Toad Sage, one of the 3 fabled toaster clans, was duped like this. Despite the chaotic start to their mission, Kurenai noticed that Jiraiya had a serious side. He had a direct connection to the destination of their journey, as he was the one who missed the cut. As a result of this, she resolved to ask him for more information on this mission. Jiraiya-sama, with a frown, expressed that Hokage Samura had warned them of being unable to cross the internal walls when the remains were discovered. I'm not particularly knowledgeable about seals and barriers, but I can't help but wonder what they did in that temple. The Uzumaki clan's reputation made it unsurprising. In the event that Naruto couldn't enter, how would he proceed? Kiba inquired. Jiraiya asked, how do I go about explaining this to you? The first point to consider is the difference between innate skills and skill training. Your sensei in Konoha is considered to be proficient in genjutsu, but they are likely to lose to an Uchiha who has access to the higher levels of Sharingan, even if they have limited training. Talent is a product of blood, which is the mother's instinct. Does the Uzumaki clan possess an innate ability for Fuinjutsu, as per Hinata's inquiry? Irretrievably, yes. After providing him with a few Fuinjutsu cabinets full of theory, Naruto was capable of mastering several advanced seals within 3 to 6 months. Considering the difficulty of Fuinjutsu and the incomprehensible nature of their writing, I believe that the brat has an inherent ability. Kiba scowled. Why is Fuinjutsu not commonly used? Are you interested in teaching us about it? Jiraiya, who was excited to discuss his field, became more enthusiastic. He had a passion for perverted behavior, but his true passion was the Fuinjutsu method. Naruto attempted to prevent Kiba from continuing before the Sannin would start a long and possibly useless explanation, after realizing his mistake. It was already too late for him to be able to make it. The user must possess significant amounts of chakra and have a high level of control over it. Essentially, seals are typically made by several people working together on one seal. The creation, activation, and usage of a seal becomes exponentially more difficult when multiple individuals work together on the same seal due to the distinct chakra types and levels of control. Jiraiya's seriousness was acknowledged by the rest of the group, who listened attentively. Naruto was aware that they would encounter difficulties in chasing him at specific times. Due to the Uzumaki style of Fuinjutsu, which differed from the fundamental training they received in Konoha, their sensei was expected to follow suit. This problem can be circumvented by individuals like the Uzumaki, who are exceptionally strong, he stated with a smile. The chakra can cover our expenses, so forget about the skills. However, those who meet the high standards must still master the intricate language used to write seals. Although it is possible to replicate seals with limited knowledge, the lack of detail or minor errors can negatively impact both time and strength. Despite its similarity to the 12-hand seals, the written text is more intricate and difficult to read. The significance of the sequence of signals and their corresponding connections is not addressed by me. Recreating seals and creating new ones is a challenging task due to these factors. The task of removing seals is too difficult to contemplate. The lack of real shortcuts makes it almost impossible to understand Fuinjutsu, even with familiar techniques like the Sharingan. Kiba questioned, why bother with that kind of thing, and asked why he didn't understand half of Jiraiya's mini-lecture. Uncomplicated. Although Fuinjutsu is a technique that can be executed with precision, it has little impact on time. Due to this reason, the barriers at the temple are still in operation. Seal production may involve a great deal of expertise and time, but there is no charge for maintaining the seal. A seal, whether made at a tag, scroll, or on the ground, will remain in place for almost all of time until it is activated or deactivated by you, depending on which type of seal. The effectiveness of Fuinjutsu lies in its ability to set traps before a fight begins, as well as in the use of obstacles and other defensive tactics. It's akin to how I can activate the sentry seals, which remain active even when I don't sleep at night. The seal's appearance is crucial, as Naruto explained after witnessing the confusion among his fellow mariners. Unlike regular ninjutsu, Fuinji requires less chakra to activate, but it does not require any upkeep cost. Despite my attempts to sleep, fight, fall unconscious, or die, the seal will still keep going unless instructed otherwise. Despite the intricacy of seals, they can be subjected to numerous conditions. Jiraiya accepted the suggestion that there are specific requirements for the barrier surrounding the temple. The Uzumaki's belief in their own sacred shrine makes it highly unlikely that they would use protective measures to maintain the inner temple. Jizan brought up a question about my chakra. You may be able to make a choice, given that you are the only Uzumaki left alive. If you were to become the unacknowledged leader of your clan, it would be like the Uchiha brat. Naruto expressed his admiration by stating, would love to see the faces of others when they were asked who I am or was. Kiba snorted. No, I'm not ever going to do that, he replied, laughing. Jiraiya disregarded Naruto for a brief moment during the evening. I noticed that you moved to a new team, but the old man had not anticipated your happiness. How did it turn out? Naruto expressed his unhappiness by saying, I was unhappy at first. As a child, I felt like I was punished for being expelled from the orphanage. I even entertained the thought of leaving Konoha temporarily, thinking that I could find a better life elsewhere, said Jiraiya. Even if there was no use, it would have been worthless. If I am so weak, there is no way for me to break free from my circumstances. You had plans to leave Konoha, but were intercepted? Sarutobi-sensei was silent about the situation. Naruto expressed his discomfort with Hinata following him and instructing him to stay, causing him some discomfort and scratching the back of his head. You were having a lot of issues with your girliness before, so did you, Jiraiya replied innocently. The Hyuga heir, in all people, he added with a lack of humor. Good, okay. I am filled with pride, he exclaimed, crying in disbelief. Naruto stated, I informed you, it is not true, with a grumble. It's safe to make fun of her, but I don't want to harm her unless you have the desire to carry her with you. Upon seeing Jiraiya's questioning, he observed that she tends to faint when embarrassed. I'm not sure what to say, The difficulty in doing so makes things quite complex. It seems like you and your partner were not yet acquainted with each other. He yelled with frustration, but Naruto hit him hard instead. It doesn't matter, Naruto said softly, gesturing with a slight frown at the man's antics. In addition, it is just as problematic for me as it is for someone like me. Is it not important for her to be aware of my identity and the most likely path forward, she said. After a brief moment of paleness, Jiraiya grimaced with anger. How did she come to know? Did Hayashi tell her? If not, why was it said that nobody betrayed the Hokage's law? Naruto replied. I was the one who proclaimed it to her. Jiraiya was still stunned when they returned to the other individuals. He was fully aware of Naruto's seriousness in carrying the Kyuubi around him. Naruto was aware that he had never disclosed his burden to anyone, except when the other person started discussing it first. Even then, he was very reluctant to talk about it. Sarutobi-sensei commented that Naruto believed she had saved him from the orphanages, which may indicate his strong trust in her. On the other hand, I'm curious if she comprehends the message conveyed by his confession. I had to find a way to talk about the situation with that girl who turned down my offer. The signs of his struggle are becoming more and more apparent, so how would Jiraiya have responded to a potential rejection? My students, including Minato and Yahiko, were let down by me as I had not met their expectations, according to the statement. Rather than dying, I would prefer to fail this youngster. I owe Minato an enormous amount of gratitude. Naruto's gaze ascended. I'm not sure how to navigate a water balloon without Hinata, but it was definitely easier than I thought. The old man smiled at the girl who was blushing and acknowledged that the Dojutsu was a tool to cheat during training. I just gave you a few suggestions, Jiraiya-sama, she exclaimed softly. Drop the honorifics, kid, Jiraiya ordered, because they make me feel old. Compared to a group of cranky individuals like you, I am too old for that. Kiba exhibited a slight frown. The tales you shared with my mother are entirely different from your true self. Despite hearing about your writing proficiency, Sis had a habit of expelling men from our clan who carried those books with them. Even though Mum never elucidates the reason, she does not provide any explanation. Kurenai made it clear that she should not be doing it, he said. Jiraiya's eyes closed in resignation as she sighed. His literary arts were not expected to be protected in this company. It is not recommended for children of the same age to read it. Naruto's cynicism was evident as he asked, "Is that what you just said?" After 6 days of traveling, the group finally arrived at their destination. It was omitted by Team 8. The former temple ground, occupied by the woods, had only been disturbed by some large rocks and a demolished section of the wall as nonverbal witnesses. The word ruin was almost too extreme to describe the former temple. Naruto had the impression that the temple was quite substantial, as per Jiraiya's explanation earlier. The real thing was, as is often the case, a disappointment. The young genital, who had longed to witness something of his almost extinct family, was in dire need of attention. We could cross those two rocks over there, Jiraiya declared. We are situated near the entrance to the temple's lower levels. Before I proceed to set up camp and gather supplies, I'll take Naruto and little Miss Hyuga with me to check the entrance. The old man looked at Kurenai and said, if the walls I left behind are not whole, maybe we'll have to set out watches. They were aware that if someone tried to enter the temple, they would monitor it closely and potentially attack others. In the event that they were unintelligent and did not recognize Jiraiya. Kurenai gave a nod and proceeded to set up camp with Kiba and 12 of Naruto's. The seals and barriers were fortunate enough to be unscathed. It seems that nobody had ventured beyond the initial barrier that was meant to stop the attack on wild animals in the ruin. The group took turns keeping watch while the rest slept, even though they had set out sentry seals. The group has deliberately been moving at a slow pace towards the temple, as Jiraiya wanted to teach Naruto some tips on how to temporarily undo or completely remove fuinjutsu done by others. Even though they had traveled at great speeds for a few hours daily, the rest of the day would be spent in training. Jiraiya and Naruto spent most of their time training fuinjutsu after setting up camp. The rest of us were not bored. Kurenai had been taught by Jiraiya how to teach Kiba, whose nose could be used to track the lingering chakra left behind by the fuinjutsu, and Hinata's eyes had an opportunity to see the seals and barriers, as well as potential weaknesses in them. Jiraiya's level of preparation for the mission was so impressive that Kurenai couldn't help but laugh when they left, according to his statement. The scrolls he presented to Kiba and Hinata were designed to convey the majority of the essential concepts of fuinjutsu in a way that even they could grasp, while they only had access to the academy's basic knowledge. Kurenai was uncertain about what to do when they finally arrived at the ruins. The seals that Jiraiya had left behind were removed, leading them down a dark tunnel as he worked his way past the barriers and slowly freed himself from them. Kiba was astonished to hear the question, "How old is this place?" Jiraiya confessed to being ignorant, stating, "I'm afraid I don't know. There is no mention of this temple anywhere in the Uzumaki clan scrolls or books. As far as my knowledge goes, the Uzumaki had only 2 shrines, and this one was never transcribed. As Hinata reported, we're approaching the next barrier, left turns, and my eyes are blocked," she said. She walked ahead of the group, her Byakugan being activated at regular intervals, and the other members carried torches. A few times Akamaru sounded his voice, then let out a gentle boom. Kiba nodded in agreement. "It's not a significant issue, but the barrier is intact, even though I don't detect any hazardous chakra. I cleared most of the traps last time," Jiraiya muttered bluntly. Nevertheless, that hoop never shone. As they walked towards the barrier, they observed a large window with dark colors, but there was no reflection. The tunnel's walls were slightly expanded, and the walls in this instance were embellished with large human figures instead of the usual lack of decoration. Those who were on either side of the barrier appeared to be in pain, while those on the other side seemed to have been protecting themselves fiercely. Despite the artwork's grandeur, it still appeared rather unsettling. "This is a truly remarkable achievement." Kurenai expressed his astonishment through his words. "I've never encountered anything like that in terms of a barrier. It's absolutely faultless." Hinata expressed her inability to see any way to make a stand up to the barrier, feeling as if nothing could be possible. "I'm not sure what is on the other side, but I can't see through the barrier. There is a lack of anything." Hinata was once again disappointed. She had no value or purpose. What would her father say if he saw her now? A true Hyuga clan member would have been able to do something worthwhile. "I didn't anticipate you to encounter Hinata," Jiraiya said, rejoicing after witnessing her confidence decline. "I went with your uncle Hizashi, who is part of the Hyuga clan, for my last visit. He perceived the same things you do now as he does." The girl smirked with her eyes open, aware that Hizashi was not left behind in skill when compared to her father. Kiba cautiously approached the barrier and asked, "How do we get past this?" Akamaru walked towards the barrier to feel and smell it, after nothing happened. Naruto said, "I'll give it a shot. I have no idea what to do, but if your theory is accurate, something should happen." He then made his way towards the barrier. "What the?" Kiba declared. Naruto attempted to touch the apparent solid glass wall by raising his arm, but the situation remained the same. Naruto's arm had just surpassed the barrier, unlike his other counterparts. After examining the barrier, Jiraiya observed that it remained stationary and does not alter anything. Naruto's right arm had made it through, but the wall remained unbroken for the rest of the group. This barrier is a remarkable piece of work, showcasing the true talent of your family, kiddo. The feeling is somewhat odd, Naruto's expression revealed, with a frown. It's as if I had to generate chakra to move forward. Jiraiya sighed and turned to Kurenai, who nodded as he gazed at him. According to Naruto, it is fine. The barrier appears to be easily broken, enabling you to examine the other side and find a solution. Pay attention to your inner voice and avoid taking any risk. We will guide you, but if you get into trouble while this barrier is still in effect, we cannot assist you. Naruto said, "Okay, so I'm gonna take a look at you now." He touched his stomach. It's a good question to ask. It was strange. Agree with me? He asked the other individuals, staring at the brunette boy who began to investigate thoroughly. I'm unable to discern any object in this room. I'll continue walking down the corridors. If I detect anything suspicious, I'll send a clone first. Jiraiya conveyed a message of good luck, saying, "I wish you all the best. And be mindful of your surroundings." Kurenai's expression was one that indicated he didn't understand the situation. Although the other barriers in the rubble had been removed, were they deemed to be perilous? The majority of them were created to keep animals or people out of the building. The last barrier that I was able to remove was somewhat risky, as it prevented any jutsu from being used against it. I advised Naruto not to use any jutsu without testing it first with a clone before proceeding. The Toad Sage's frown caused confusion among the genin and their sensei. Hinata beseeched Naruto-kun for forgiveness, praying. Naruto had exited the room with the glass wall and walked for a few hundred meters before the corridor reached its conclusion. Naruto noticed a hole in the floor just before reaching the end. By emitting a Kage Bunshin, he ascertained that the pitch-black hole was not far away. Naruto was left wondering why there was a flicker of light in the distance when memories of the clone returned. Walking towards the light, Naruto jumped down and proceeded to do so. He cautiously fashioned several clones and allowed them to search the area for traps. The boy's expression was one that caused him to look grimacing. A bright barrier was present in an open room, but it was too far for the clones to approach. "I'll take a closer look at you, man." The clone was depleted by it, leading to its dissolution. Is it possible that this is just another one of those jutsu wards mentioned by the super pervert? Despite my inability to break through that old barrier, I was able to get past it without any harm. Would it be wise for me to return with cash or take a chance? My family is what it takes. If anyone is permitted to use that word, it's me. What the F******, what the hell? Naruto pondered, as he could touch the barrier without any impact. Unlike the previous barrier that caused him to feel uneasy, this new barrier provided a nice and warm feeling. Oddly enough, Naruto was unable to bring the barrier down, leading him to conclude that the wall was not meant to harm him. It's probably a wise decision to turn my back to the others. He contemplated his actions. There is no indication that there could be any danger. Maybe it's just like the glass, and I can easily walk through it. Naruto's caution was overshadowed by his curiosity, and he eventually went in. After all, this was his legacy. What could be the cause of something going wrong? Naruto pushed through the glowing barrier, and the shadowy underground corridor had disappeared. Wow! When Naruto's eyes were adjusted to the intense light, he exclaimed. He was situated in a vast verdant valley, somehow standing there. The boy was amazed by the scenery, with forests stretching as far as Naruto's mountain range and a potent river at the center of the valley. Naruto's remarkable sight was due to his placement on a plateau, near tumbling water. The peaceful and flawless setting was so ideal that Naruto almost desired to remain there forever. Naruto's deep voice interrupted his greeting with, "Good morning, kid." Despite never having seen or felt someone approach him, the man stood behind him with such clarity that it seemed like he had been there all along. The emergence of the inner hysteria has been a long-standing tradition, and no one has entered it yet. It feels like an eternity, even though I haven't recollected it for as long as I can remember. The question remains unanswered as to what the speaker intends to convey. Naruto inquired of the man's identity, but only posed a question inquisitively. Naruto observed that the man's hair was long and red, with only a few gray hairs to indicate his age. Under his body armor, he was dressed in black with long sleeves and looked as tall and muscular as Jiraiya. Naruto was drawn to the Uzumaki emblem, which adorned each shoulders of the man. "You sound like a Uzumaki? What in the world, right?" The man frowned. Naruto inquired, completely perplexed. "Are you here without proper rituals? No one told you what this place is? Rites?" "Ji-san, I had just crossed a barrier in that temple's ruin and was later present." "Is it dirty?" he asked me, with a sharp smile. I acknowledged the statement. A worn-out sigh of distress was heard. "It seems like a lot more time had gone by than I ever anticipated." Naruto remarked that the reason for sending you to this place was due to his role in the Uzumaki clan's unfortunate fate. Naruto's eyes were not drawn to the old man, despite his odd behavior. The chakra that the man exuded had a mesmerizing effect, which Naruto found captivating despite its vastness. It was strange. Naruto has never encountered a chakra before, but he has not previously met anyone from his own family. I acknowledged the statement. The man stated that he and his family were the last of 7 children who entered the sanctum unannounced, having been ordered by Konohagakure, the city founded by our Senju brothers. It was as if he had been split in two. This seal is in violation of all the regulations imposed on it. To have the belief that our relatives had suffered such a fate. Naruto inquired, "Do you believe we are currently confined to a seal?" The man observed his surroundings. "Redact and express your thoughts." "As I approached the end of my life, I secluded myself in this place to pass on my knowledge to others who could handle my duties. It was as if I had gone back in time. It felt like home." "Why would you choose to be confined in a seal?" "It appears alluring, but what is the significance of this decision?" The aged man initiated a running motion and started to move around. "Our clan is one of the oldest in our world, and dates back to when the Sage of 6 Paths, known as the greatest of all Shinies, lived. According to certain records, the forefathers of our family were believed to have lived before the sage. The period has been heavily influenced by myths and legends that have not been verified. According to the accounts that were passed down through generations, our forefathers were gifted with a weapon by the wise men. The Sage of the 6 Paths was the one who instructed us to conceal the weapon and prophesied that it would be necessary for the world to have access to. The Shinobi was mentioned by Naruto in one of his history books or Iruka's uninteresting lessons on the academy, and he then frowned. Naruto's primary memory was of the man who presumably started the age of Shinobi. The old man smiled at the exasperated boy, who had safeguarded it for centuries. "It wasn't just me who carried and sat in the dark about the biggest secret of our clan. Despite the fact that many members of our clan tried to use it, their power was too great for them to even contemplate using it. A small number of people were deemed worthy to attempt, and only a few survived the emotional distress caused by their association with the weapon. They found it exceedingly difficult to use the weapon. It is rumored that, since the founding of our clan, only 4 individuals have been able to wield it properly throughout their entire history. The weapon was used by me, the last of them, to use up a significant amount of my life force, leading to my premature death at the age of 84. He smiled and mentioned that Naruto's look made him think of something young in our clan. I'm not saying the weapon was a big deal, but I felt like my chakras were clogged and I was almost killed by it more often than not due to exhaustion from sweating and sweat. The man ceased walking and contemplated the last of his relatives. The Gekihoko, a legendary trident weapon, is too potent for most people to use due to its high consumption of chakras, even for the best warriors. The greatest in history, like the little guy who married our Mito just before I left, would only have the chakra necessary to wield it without suffering a fate similar to mine. Nevertheless, you are unlike any other man I've seen before. The seal on your stomach conceals a creature with power that defies all logic. You may have been the recipient of Gekihoko's greeting, as suggested by the sage. Stay frank. Can you identify me? What is the identity of this Geki something? And what does bonding mean to you? Despite his attempts to comprehend the man's words, he was still baffled by his monologues. He had never conversed with someone from his own family until this was the first time. The name Gekihoko is the designation used to identify the weapon. Unlike any other weapon, the Gekihoko is designed to look like a trident. The Gekihoko is not a solid structure. The wielder's chakra is responsible for shaping it and it can cause damage to any jutsu it encounters. The trident summoned will not trigger any fights, and all other forms of fighting will be done without fuinjutsu when you touch it. Our clan has been using this weapon to track down the most skilled members who were at a low point in their journey, and we have used it for generations to come. The connection between your chakra and your relationship to others is based on this, doesn't it? Once the Gekihoko is placed in the seal, the weapon will assess the potential shooter's worthiness by touching it. In the event of being deemed worthy, it will be sealed by a divine sign on the main hand of its new master and remain there until their demise. The weapon should be passed on to you, who are the last members of our clan. You have already passed the barriers that would have disregarded anyone who would be considered unworthy by my own standards, so I ask you to ensure that this treasure remains accessible to all. Whatever the sage of the Six Paths line of reasoning once was, and whatever his predictions were, I cannot deny the Gekihoko's power. Stay frank. Can you explain what it means? Uzumaki Naruto, goodbye to you. The Gekihoko's last wielder, Uzumaki Ryota, believes that you are deserving of the position as the next wielders, due to both necessity and quality. I hope that you have a smooth binding process. Conserve the blood and beauty of our ancestors. The most important task is to safeguard the world. Our clan has always aimed to achieve that goal. Maybe that's why we were first destroyed. The valley was illuminated by the sun as Uzumaki Ryota bowed gracefully to the last of his clan. The sounds from the underworld ceased to exist. The winds were unable to resist the gusts. The waterfall's water stopped flowing. All eyes were on the older man who touched Naruto's right palm, causing the world to go by. The sun erupted and descended into flames. Jiraiya was troubled. He pondered, why has Naruto been absent for such a prolonged period, from left to right? Don't do anything stupid, if you are the bad guy. Kurenai attempted to calm the anxious girl by stating, don't worry Hinata, Naruto will return soon, while her Byakugan kept watching. Kurenai's movement towards the end resulted in a closer relationship. The girl was pulled closer as she whispered, don't lose your chakra. Jiraiya's worried look made Kiba grimace. Kiba's words were muted by a loud explosion, suggesting that his time would have been more productive if he had not encountered another obstacle. The stone trembled, and a massive dust cloud surged through the tunnel. The dark-colored barrier flickered once, then twice, and then suddenly disappeared. With her vision clear, Hinata's Byakugan penetrated the darkness. With a grimace on her face, Hinata shouted, Naruto, as she freed herself from Kurenai's grasp and fled into the darkness, while the others chased after her with great speed. After the fake sun detonated, Naruto's body felt as though it had burned away. He was blinded by the unbearable pain, and his only response was to scream. Scream until his lungs were torn. The moment came when his throat was slit. Naruto perceived in a remote spot that the Kyuubi's chakra began to emanate from his skin, causing his flesh to disintegrate. Blood rushed out of the torn skin into the chakra, converging into a flesh-like veil that now encircled him. As if he formed a new form of body, surrounding himself with his own flesh. He came to an end at this point. His destiny was sealed by this. He could finally get a good night's sleep. The Kyuubi had emerged victorious. End to pain. There's no more melancholic suffering to go through. I am seeking a state of peace. The end of suffering and peace. Despite his efforts to remain conscious, Naruto observed that his calls had transformed into a howling sound. His voice had evolved into the shrieks and growls of a demonic fox, just as his physical form had transformed into reincarnated demons. Naruto observed an improvement in all his senses, including the eyes, ears, and nose. Even though it caused him to feel more pain, his improved smell only led to nausea because his own flesh was burning. Vaguely, he heard the shouts of Hinata echoing through the corridors, Jiraiya's wooden get-up on the stone, panicked barks from Akamaru followed by Kiba's curses. He observed a change in his balance, as he felt tails behind him. Vapidly pondering when he had developed those qualities. The most significant injury he experienced was a burn on his right hand. It's not a question of course. Jiraiya gave a gasp of discomfort. He yelled, "No way this can be done," and the other person came close to him. Kurenai took charge and stopped Kiba and Hinata before they could enter the final room. Jiraiya looked on and cursed as he saw the solid red chakra of the demonic fox rising from the inferno that had spread throughout the chamber. Jiraiya was filled with a panic that had not been felt for decades. The scrolls had characterized this as the second version, suggesting that Naruto was on his way out of control in just a few seconds. Jiraiya's godson was saved only after the red chakra exploded before he could think of any other means to do so. Naruto witnessed Jiraiya shouting at him while he stood amidst the flames and ruin. What is the reason for his presence? Naruto asked, but was unable to make sense of the situation. Naruto asked, "Where is my place?" and his right hand sounded like nothing, while the other person's body was left numb. The hand remained undisturbed and held a thing. He had a big spear in his right hand, which had 3 heads. Naruto's weapon was remarkably lightweight, lasting as long as it did. Despite its dull steel appearance, it is still quite beautiful. The middle spearhead was a bit taller than the 2 spears lying in front of it. It was not a spear, Naruto said, slowly. Gekihoko, who was described by Ryota, is the name of the character he spoke to. He heard a growling voice inside him, "Put it down, sir." The voice whispered, "We will not die unless we both choose to live," in response. Naruto asked, "What's your request to this ruddy fox?" Naruto's voice prompted the fox to growl, silence, and emit a fearful signal. "I have a memory of seeing this weapon, take it down now, before it takes over our chakras. I am unable to keep you from here for an extended period." The fox said, "Why am I doing this?" "Shut up." Naruto surrendered the trident and realized that it had dissolved before it could reach the earth. The Kyuubi's retreat was felt by him, as did the fire that surrounded them. As the world began to spin, the immense volume of chakra that had encircled him destabilized and burst. The darkness enveloped everything. Despite the tears still streaming down her face, Hinata was too worn out to continue crying while sitting on the ground. At times, she clung to tears but not altogether. Her father's disapproval of such obvious weakness was understandable to her, but she couldn't care less. What was the significance of Naruto's clan reputation when he was wounded like this? Kiba appeared exhausted and unwell, which was evident from his inability to maintain a steady pace. Akamaru was the most composed of the three. While Jiraiya and Kurenai were attempting to heal Naruto, the puppy was seen guarding the area in front of the tent where they had spent the last 2 hours. The previous explosion's impact could have caused the ruins to collapse, so Jiraiya and Kurenai resolved to rescue Naruto from the rubble by pulling him out alive. The condition deteriorated, but the danger of collapsing was too severe to treat him at that time. The Genin and the Ninken were unaware of Naruto's fate, but Kiba had learned that his teammate had lost almost all of his skin. It was as if someone had belittled him. The Uzumaki's fireproof pants were burned, and the majority of their clothing had been destroyed. Despite the perilous wounds and blood loss, Naruto's condition was worsened by other factors. Based on the few words Hinata could utter, it appears Kiba understood that Naruto's chakra was nearly depleted and that his chakra network had been seriously damaged by the massive amount of chakra energy being exerted on him. Without seeing the deep red, three-tailed creature, Kiba would have been unable to make sense of it. What the hell was that? Kiba muttered, not knowing the answer. What the hell was that? The trio awaited Akamaru's sudden response. The tent's opening suddenly moved closer, causing Hinata to shake his head. With a pale and exhausted demeanor, Kurenai exited the scene. He is stable at this point, she said, appearing completely drained. He has a chance to recover, but he must rest now. Jiraiya-sama will be the first to stay with him. Tomorrow, we will carry on with his treatment. Please take the first watch, one of you, she said as she entered her tent and slumped on her blanket, dozing off. I'll take a look at you, Hinata said, her Byakugan pointed towards the tent of the elderly man. It's not possible for me to sleep, she stated before Kiba could object. Kiba gave a shrug and remained unimpressed. At least he had managed to keep his teammate alive. Stopped working after an hour. Your looks are hellish, so I doubt you would stay awake for much longer. Naruto's incredible healing power was not overshadowed by the 2 days it took for Jiraiya and Kurenai to heal him. The boy's nearness to his death was emphasized by the fact that he usually recuperated within 24 hours, even with severe injuries. The Kyuubi's chakra had been depleted in its previous life, which meant that the creature could not recover as quickly as Naruto would have. Naruto expressed regret by saying, "It's time to apologize," after hearing about the incident. The hollowness in his face indicated that he had not yet fully recuperated. His skin had resurfaced, and it was remarkable that there were no scars on his skin. He appeared to be experiencing a significant weight loss and had not been eating properly in several weeks. After consuming food and drink, Naruto woke up an hour earlier and began conversing with others. "You are supposed to be," Jiraiya remarked. "It's so lucky that your sensei is a better healer than me." Upon reaching the location, Kurenai gave a frown and advised Jiraiya to restrain herself before she had to seek medical attention for her remaining injuries. "I'm not a big fan of Naruto, but I would like to know more about it." The incomprehensible grunt used by Kiba appeared to be a clear concession. Naruto commenced to clarify the situation when Akamaru was suddenly struck by an object while slumped down next to him. He was unable to remove the barrier and proceeded to walk on until he came across the luminescent one. The barrier was the one that I accessed, not the seal. I'm not sure how it happened, but somehow, I ended up in a peculiar, glowing, valley. I was informed that it was the interior of the seal, but I am unable to fathom how someone could fabricate such an object. It must have been a combination of spacetime and sealing jutsu. Still, it should be implausible. Jiraiya's impressed expression caused him to feel less anger, but he continued. "It's a shame that the seal was burned away, considering all the knowledge we could have gained from it." Naruto's expression was one of frown and a look of disapproval. "Naruto, what took place there?" Kurenai inquired softly. Naruto's sigh was heard as he put his arm around his chest. "I found a clan secret in it, which was passed down from my mother." He raised his hand. Neither she nor Jiraiya could grasp the seal, even Kurenai's frown. He referred to it as a divine seal. Jiraiya appeared bewildered. He inquired, "Do you believe in the existence of a divine seal?" That method was lost before the Uzumaki's fall. Naruto exclaimed, grimacing in agreement. I suppose that wasn't the problem here. I can't say it enough. I came across someone there. He dwelled in that seal and gifted me a secret that my family had held for centuries. He looked at them, realizing that they were somewhat offended by his decision not to disclose the truth, but he had no choice but to keep it under wraps. I apologize, but I am unable to disclose the truth. At least not yet. Despite his tiredness, he continued to speak without any proper thought. Nevertheless, that enigma inflicted immense pain on me, as it burned into my skin. I would have perished if the fox had not intervened, which is ironic considering the bastard's rescue from death. Perhaps capable of saving its own cocky little mouth. I'm imagining that I might be one. Is it appropriate to do so? Jiraiya observed that Naruto had fallen asleep and was grateful. He sighed, now let him rest. I'll be nearby if things go wrong, so please rest easy. Kiba inquired about the fox when they were outside the tent. Kiba noticed that Hinata was looking away from the situation. Hinata, what was the object that we witnessed in the ruins? The chakra wasn't part of humanity. Kurenai, being too fatigued to initiate a dialogue, responded with, Kiba, which was the correct response. This is not the moment to waste your time. Hinata snatched her from her grasp. No, sorry, Senegade. Now that Kiba-kun has seen it, he should be aware of the truth. The situation could be worsened if he made incorrect assumptions or shared other people's observations. Can you tell me how it's working? Hinata almost muttered Naruto-kun, sensei, as she was told. She was not fond of doing this, even though Naruto wanted to keep it a secret, but with the events that occurred. I am not entirely certain about the events that occurred to Naruto-kun, but this matter is beyond my understanding. Naruto's decision to disclose it was influenced by his own experiences, so we wouldn't be violating any laws. It's possible that you are on the right track. Kurenai gave a sigh of relief. She was still weary. Hinata was correct in her assessment that Kiba's ignorance could pose a risk at this stage. The thought of what could happen if Naruto's outburst was made public caused her to shudder, she said. The council would unquestionably attempt to seal his chakra or something as ludicrous as that. Konoha's treatment of those who received seals was well known to Kurenai, while Enko had been isolated and shunned for years before she finally managed to claim some credit for her efforts. The seal she received from Orochimaru was insignificant when compared to Naruto's burden. Tisk, he said, the Kyuubi. Puny, are you still unable to recover from your previous setback? Naruto's gaze arose in wonder as he looked up. Talking to his team about what had happened was the last thing he remembered. The monstrous fox growled at the thought, Autumn, you're asleep, looking confused. The reason I brought you over is to clarify things. Naruto expressed gratitude before the fox could finish, saying, thank you. The fox's eyes shrunk as it asked, what the hell is that? It yelled out, don't ask for your damn thanks, and demanded to be released from the jail, lashing back with one of its enormous claws against the bars that had held him captive. I'm completely clueless about how to do that, as you know. I am certain that you were there to save my life. Thank you for that, it's the smallest thing I can do. The fox's grunting tone was so stark that it appeared to be confused, whether Naruto was making fun of him or not. Despite this, I don't think it matters much to me. You must be aware of that weapon at this point in time. While I concur with your decision to keep it confidential, it is probably the most shrewd move, but you should still inform your Hokage and potential frog summoning offender. Their knowledge could assist you in preparing to use it. Refrain from attempting to summon that weapon again. You must do it before you become much stronger. I am not going to die, and if you call upon the old man's trident now, both of us will be killed. You are too weak to handle. The monster appeared to be somewhat warped. Or could be. The fox quipped, maybe I should give it another shot now that you're not so miserable anymore, and expressed his pleasure. Nevertheless, it's going to require a few years of time. During the past few years, I have ample time to escape. Obtaining the old man's trident would be a valuable advantage. Let's witness the abused person try to confine me once more, said the Kyuubi. Jiraiya-sama was the phrase used by Kurenai to convey his message. The toad sage was annoyed and asked, what the heck is this? The old man was also exhausted. In his apprehension for Naruto, the man had been having trouble sleeping. Kiba has been exposed to a lot of information, making it impossible for him to keep quiet. Especially after Naruto's recent remarks. The words, Jiraiya, sighed. It seems like a reasonable conclusion. If you believe it is appropriate, let him know. You have been chosen to lead our mission, and if you are not mistaken, you will also be responsible for Naruto's well-being. Jiraiya muttered, she's an awfully smart girl. Okay, I'll tell the Inuzuka mutt, he said, before exiting the tent and heading towards the boy. Let's keep this secret, brat, or you'll be caught off guard and cause Naruto some trouble, Jiraiya warned in a darkly executed jab. The sage's threat made Kiba look pale. Naruto's actions reveal Kyuubi, Jiraiya grimaced. Also, he has the seal from which the monster was imprisoned by the Yondaime Hokage, my former student. According to Naruto, the Kyuubi's rescue was averted when the divine seal was released. The burden was too much for Naruto's chakra supply, prompting the creature to rush in and save him. It was probably justified in preventing its own death, as it would have been with Naruto's life if it had not intervened. You witnessed Naruto being partially transformed into the Kyuubi form a few days ago. In shock, Jiraiya came back to the tent just as Kiba had managed to shut his mouth. Consider asking any question you can think of. This is the burden of Naruto. Hinata whispered softly. Despite his inability to help him, people still fear and hate him, she said, gesturing at Kiba with an unusually icy gaze. Kiba-kun, I pray that you will not hate him now. It's worth noting that Kurenai acknowledged this as an S-class secret, he said. Despite the knowledge of many, talking about it is forbidden. Those who violate the Hokage's law will be subject to the death penalty. It is my belief that Jiraiya-sama would not delay for such a prolonged period, but in this particular case, it does not appear to be the case. Rather than waiting for him, it's better to kill yourself if you have the intention of messing up. Kiba's voice disappeared into a nod as he nodded in confusion. Despite being aware of Naruto's secret, he was not happy about it. Conversely, Kiba, despite being known for his quick thinking and short temper, had also recognized that Naruto was burdened by something. Nonetheless, this was an overabundance of the magnitude. Too absurd of a concept. The Kyuubi's attack on Konoha resulted in the loss of members of the Inuzuka clan, as it did with other clans. According to Kiba, Naruto was not responsible for anything that occurred. It appeared that he was the one who should be blamed by everyone. I finally got a response, he said. Kurenai expressed his concern about the consequences of not doing something that could be avoided by him and whether Naruto should be held accountable. After 6 days, Naruto was ready to go. He was still weary but determined to vacate the spot where he had come close to death. Naruto had to wear Jiraiya's spare clothes after destroying his own clothing. A smaller form of them. Naruto felt remorseful about not having his own mesh armor underneath, but he appreciated the green kimono and pants more than his black and white attire. The addition of red haori to it was a fantastic side dish. Jiraiya's spare handguards safeguarded him from unwanted eyes by obscuring his divine seal. Naruto declined to wear the wooden garments that Jiraiya wore. Naruto was able to walk on his feet without any assistance, thanks to Kiba's possession of old sandals. He was able to purchase new belts and scrolls upon his return to Konoha, but not the ones he had with him. He smiled and said, "Thank you," after demonstrating his new look. Kurenai expressed his satisfaction with the appearance, saying, "It's much more pleasing than what I thought it would be. The green Haori is a steal, but the red one is too distracting during missions." Hinata concurred, but was satisfied Naruto didn't make her blush. Fascinated with it? Jiraiya scowled, his eyes fixed on his own chest. "What's your take on Shinobi? He should radiate a stylish appearance." Kiba suggested that the red could be used to give the enemy a chance, so they can escape before Naruto can attack and seize control of the entire army. Naruto suggested sketching a fox on it, as he joked. He was a bit surprised that Kiba was informed of his burden by the others, but he understood their decision after hearing from Jiraiya and Kurenai. He was so unintelligent that he went to the extent of blurting it out himself. Ultimately, he was relieved. Kiba's assertion of fear towards the Kyuubi did not offend him, but the young Inuzuka recognized Naruto was not at fault. Naruto was amused when he mocked the lack of knowledge among others. Despite the slow pace, the relaxed atmosphere made the journey back more enjoyable. Naruto was instructed by Kurenai to use as little chakra as possible, and Jiraiya concurred with his opinion. Hinata refused to take any more breaks, as she didn't believe the damage caused to Naruto's chakra system. Naruto was somewhat embarrassed by the attention, but he eventually found a way to appreciate that they cared about him. "I have a lot of work to do before I become truly strong, and I don't need to depend on anyone else," he said in his final thoughts. Kurenai had completed her report on the mission. Jiraiya believed that she would be the most suitable person to disclose everything to the Hokage, in order to avoid being reprimanded by his former advisors. Naruto's secrecy was not appreciated by Hiruzen, causing him to frown and decline the offer. "Alright, I want to acknowledge everyone who has put forth the effort. Thank you very much. It is my opinion that Team 8 should spend the remaining time on training. Less than 2 weeks have elapsed since the Chunin exams were scheduled to take place." "Hokage-sama, thank you," Kurenai said, then followed by her genitalia. "Naruto, I want to have a conversation with you and Jiraiya first," Hiruzen said, before stopping Naruto and his team from leaving the office. "I want to ask that you do not disclose any information about this mission at this time," he continued. "I will ensure that each of you receives a payment for an A-ranked mission." Jiraiya closed the door as the others exited. Hiruzen set up a barrier to prevent others from accidentally overhearing any information in his office. "Our words will be heard by only those who are not listening. Is it possible for me to inquire about the truth?" Naruto sighed. "I found my way into the last seal and encountered a member of my own family. Uzumaki Ryota's name was actually his, as he put it. He informed me that he sealed himself in a powerful relic, which had been kept by the Uzumaki clan for centuries, before his death." Naruto's expression was slightly embarrassed. "In case of any mishap, I should inform you." Jiraiya inquired about the relic that you were carrying before disrobing the Kyuubi's cloak. Naruto answered him by saying that, "It is a trident. Ryota informed me that it was crafted by the Sage of the Six Paths and presented to the Uzumaki clan. The Gekihoko trident, as described by Ryota, can disrupt any jutsu, but requires a significant amount of chakra to summon and use." Naruto lowered his jaw and scrutinized his right hand. "I'm feeling overwhelmed by the amount of things I can handle, at least for now. I was the last member of our clan, and Ryota told me that, so he had to give me the weapon," Naruto continued. "The strange valley came to a halt, the sun within the illusionary valley detonated, and my hand burned like hell." Naruto exhibited the divine seal on his hand, taking off his protective shield. "I was informed that a divine seal would be placed on my main hand, signifying the Gekihoko. However, the transfer itself took up a significant amount of chakra. The Kyuubi opted to assist me, even if it meant avoiding self-devastation. I am uncertain about what occurred afterward, except for the boundless waves of agony I experienced. At this point, he had reached the second stage of transforming into the Kyuubi, with 3 tails and more chakra than what she had anticipated, Jiraiya said in a grim reflection. I felt like I was witnessing a miniature Kyubishishi. Naruto's chakra system was almost destroyed by the massive amount of chakra that flowed through him. The words, Jiraiya, sighed. Brat, you were on the brink of death. Naruto expressed his gratitude by saying, thank you for saving me. Hiruzen remarked that the issues at hand were of great importance. The thought that you retrieved one of Rikudo's artifacts is quite intriguing. Hiruzen shook his head and continued smoking for a few minutes. Subsequently, he made the decision. The Gekihoko and the entire mission will be classified as an S-class secret, with no recording of it being made public. Those who will take over as Hokage, leader of the Uzumaki clan, or the next owner of this weapon. Jiraiya and Naruto came to an agreement. Jiraiya stated that he will not disclose any information about the mission to Kurenai, Kiba, or Hinata. In case I had anticipated the outcome, I would have waited for another couple of years. I was apprehensive about discovering any hidden scrolls or books in that ruin. It didn't take long to inform the rest of Team 8 about their placement of such an item at that location, as they were waiting outside the building. Tomorrow, at 10, they have to report in from Training Ground 3, said Kurenai. Each of Hinata and Naruto went back to the Hyuga Manor, while she, Kiba, and Jiraiya proceeded their own ways. Are you physically capable of training tomorrow, Naruto-kun? She asked elusively. I'm not sure if this is true, but I must admit that I never had such a big problem with healing before. It was meant to be one of the few benefits that the foolish fox provided, he said, tapping on his own stomach. It was a close call. I wouldn't want to inform AKO or Haruki about it. I'm going to be killed by them for being reckless. AKO is expected to do just that. He pondered deeply, knowing that Haruki would deliver a massive lecture, which could be more challenging depending on the speaker's perspective. After a brief respite, she smiled and stopped speaking. Is it bothersome for Kiba-kun to know the truth about you? Naruto gave a frown. I was surprised when I woke up in the morning. It was unavoidable in those circumstances, even though I wouldn't have told him myself otherwise. Ultimately, I am uncertain if it caused me any significant discomfort, but I'm content that Kiba didn't make fun of me. Although I had some doubts, he managed to handle it without any hesitation. In a serious manner, Hinata stated that Jiraiya-sama would abduct him if he did so. If Kiba had crossed that threshold, Jiraiya would likely wait for her to be done, but she wouldn't confirm. Naruto denied everything and shook his head. No, that wasn't the case. If Kiba had a negative opinion of me, I would have been shocked. I would sense it. Naruto joked that Kiba is either too honest or unintelligent to deceive. The Hyuga Manor was entered by the 2 teenagers who were still smiling upon their arrival. Naruto inquired, at 96 years old, where are you at? Naruto said jollily, good morning Hinata-sama, knowing how much she loathed the honorific when he used it. She sighed and looked back at him. You'll never stop doing that, shall we? The answer is already playing in his gleaming eyes. He mused, I bet it's probably. You changed your color to green, a second person stated. Naruto leaned towards Hitomi-sama, his voice still ringing. It was when I first found it enjoyable. It seems like I needed a change in myself. She looked at him. The boy was dressed in a short kimono that was green and had long sleeves that almost covered his hand guards. He sported black sandals and pants that were the same shade. His black belt had multiple scrolls attached to it. Even though he had abandoned the red Haori, she still gave her approval. On the flip side, she discovered that Haruki had given him some of his previous shoulder protectors. She said, you look like a real Bruno. Ah, that's a good response, I guess, he replied in confused tone. She reacted with a wry smile. Let's train with hard work, two-faced. They backed off and exited. Hitomi looked happy as she watched them departing. They grew up much more quickly than she had anticipated. The boy's burden obliged him to, while his timid daughter pursued after him, always glaring at him and viewing him as her shining example. Hitomi was convinced that her daughter was a miracle child, as even if she were struggling to cope and still be alive, she would have been right. His strength is not a mere miracle, but rather remarkable. His anger is not reflected in his behavior, but rather in the depths of his emotions. The gentleness and warmth emanated from his personality are unexpected. Hinata witnessed it. Hitomi speculated that his eyes might be of a higher quality than mine. It would be great if I could convince Hayashi that it's true. He is unable to comprehend the true nature of his condition as he prioritizes strength. Still, there were more pressing matters to attend to. There were several miscommunications within her clan. Despite her attempts, the branch's animosity towards the main family had been growing. Hayashi perceived, and his reaction only intensified the anger. Hayashi was not the primary target of the hatred, as someone else was manipulating them from the shadows. Who was the subject of the dispute? What did this exchange entail? "Good morning, Naruto." Ayam exclaimed, then opened his eyes. "You're on a date at this early hour, right?" she quipped, mocking the blonde's cheerfulness. Tucci smiled and told her, "No, Yama, don't bother our best customer." "Is that the standard?" As per Naruto's commentary, yes, he said with a frown. "You're here, Hinata?" The girl mumbled. I had breakfast, and Naruto-kun. Why couldn't someone eat their favorite meal?" "Naruto, what the hell is this ramen?" Naruto, blinking his eyes intently. If it had been cinnamon rolls, Hinata scowled. Nevertheless. "Ah, that's okay," Naruto said with a shrug. He was spotted by Hinata when he made a clone that took some of his money. "Naruto-kun?" Naruto exclaimed, and he said, "He'll bring you some rolls," with a smile. Tucci questioned, "Are you treating a girl, after eating Naruto's miso ramen with roasted pork fillet?" It's hard to believe that Ayam can be so natural. This gives the impression of a serious situation. Naruto responded, "She is my teammate," just before he consumed his food. Hyuga Hinata, Hinachula shouted at the chef of Ichiraku and his daughter. "I am excited to have the opportunity to meet you and welcome you." Ayam also expressed a smile. "My name is Ayam, and my father Tucci is who I am also known as." "Is it safe to assume that you're Naruto's latest teammate?" she inquired. She quickly responded, "I am Naruto-kun's teammate. It's a little bit late for me to add Naruto-kun to my team." Tucci's actions were appeased by the other person, and he felt grateful for it. Naruto's smile is now reminiscent of his previous years. He doesn't even look at my ramen noodles. It's a shame that he doesn't consume as much food in this location now. Naruto stated that he would come to this place after training with Gai-sensei, but then stop and eat his food. "Did you suffer an illness, Naruto?" Ayam inquired, noting that the boy's weight had decreased considerably. Naruto's response, conveyed with a mouthful, was, "Still recovering," and the question continued, "How is it possible that you are not dying?" "I'll have to get another bowl," Tucci said kindly. "Isn't it wrong to want my top customer weakened?" Ayam asked. "You see, she was very cordial when I saw her leave." Tucci nodded and responded, "Yes, of course." A Hyuga belonging to the primary family was also present. "It's not a bad catch. She also seems to be a good match for him." Ayam shared a humorous exchange. He is unaware of the fact. It's doubtful that she would even acknowledge it to herself. It's uncommon to come across a girl who is both shy and gentle. Especially not from a family of such great and noble origin. It seems unlikely that he had encountered anyone who wasn't of that kind, so I'm guessing it could be possible. Ayam concurred. Although I am not a fan of his cute sensei, have you ever witnessed Naruto treating someone else? She asked. All right. Teuchi coughed up, pretending to be unaware of his previous statement. Kurenai's initial greeting to the team was a cheerful, "Good morning, guys. I want to make your first steps with your elemental training for the next few days. Since Naruto has already started doing this, I have arranged for someone else to assist him with some new Futon and Katan jutsus. In exchange for his assistance, you will be up against his team in a few days." After he leaped off, she informed Naruto of the expected location and began instructing Hinata and Kiba. The first thing to learn is which chakra you are attracted by. The two individuals were given paper by the teacher to test their ability to use chakras on a special paper. You have a preference for fire, wind, winds, wrinkles, lighting, dirt, earth, and water when they ignite or disintegrate, making them all desirable. Although each type has its own advantages and disadvantages, there is no single type that is the best. While liking one type may be fine, mastering the other will require a lot of effort. Is it accurate to say that an affinity is solely determined by a single type? Kiba inquired. What is the reason behind Naruto having two? Certain individuals possess a Kekii Genkai, which allows them to develop natural affinities. Nevertheless, Naruto's relationship with the Kyuubi is distinct as he has a fondness for the Katan due to their influence. Naruto's chakra has an impact on him, allowing him to use Katan in the same way as Futon. He also asserts that he is almost completely protected from attacks by fire. Now Kurenai is in full lecture mode, he added. In addition to the negative aspects of his burden, it also brings some positive outcomes. It's worth trying out if you happen to be near Akamaru. Hinata chuckled slightly before turning to read her paper. The discovery was made that both Kiba and Akamaru had a love for earth, while Hinata had an affection for water. Good, Kurenai declared. Hinata should concentrate on learning Suiton jutsus, while Kiba and Akamaru should focus on doting. Your jutsu will become more powerful as you learn it with ease. Although I am unaware if Akamaru is capable of performing the hand seal in his jutsu, it would be wise to ask your family for clarification. Kurenai briefly halted before proceeding. Let's take a closer look at some of the things we've talked about before. As I stated before, chakras come with their own set of benefits and drawbacks. The general consensus is that each type has a strength against one type and weakness against the other. Water is not able to resist the forces of gravity and fire, as evidenced by Hinata's argument. Lightning will weaken Kiba and Akamaru, while they will be strong against water-type hazards. Kurenai's explanation was met with a nod from both the dog and the teens. Hinata commenced with, "and dash dot." Kurenai had an idea what the girl was asking, and for Naruto. His fire is not potent enough to fight water, but it can be effective against wind, and he has a strong defense against lightning. Naruto could enhance his jutsu using fire by incorporating the wind, but it is a challenging task. Is it possible for me to defeat Hinata and challenge Naruto? Kiba questioned. It is not that simple, Kiba, Kurenai remarked with a frown. While it's true that you have privileges, there are other factors to consider apart from the obvious. A Suiton with an A rank outperforms a Doton in the D rank, even though the latter is perceived as stronger. Conversely, if someone puts too much chakra into a lower-rank technique, they may be able to defeat fewer chakras in higher-ranking techniques. Are we lacking anything? Kiba scowled. Kurenai said with a smile, "All right, I'm not yet there, but you're ready to start training where you are. Your affinity does not imply that you cannot utilize other elements, but rather emphasizes your proficiency in one specific area. While Doton could be used, Kiba would require less chakra to achieve the same effect and learn new dotation jutsus faster." Kurenai directed Sarutobi Asuma, the Jonin sensei of Team 10, to follow up on his previous exercise. Despite the closeness of the two Jonin's relationship, it was not much of a surprise to Naruto. "Good morning, the older gentleman said. Kurenai urged me to provide you with some fundamental information on futon and katan. Naruto nodded as he spoke. Do you feel a connection to either of the two types? Asuma quipped. I was part of the Sarutobi clan, so katan was a natural attribute to be acquired. I had to put in a lot of effort to learn how to play futon well. The lecture began with the usual sociable individual taking a surprising serious tone. Naruto's mind was consumed by unresolved questions when he finished his task. The Renkuden, or air bullet, and the wind cutter at longer range, which Asuma had learned from someone in Sunakura, were now familiar to him. Naruto was already familiar with the katan jutsus, which meant that Asuma had less concern for them. Furthermore, there were more than enough katan users in Konoha, but only a few managed to master the wind technique. Asuma taught Naruto a basic fireball jutsu technique. Naruto was largely provided with an explanation for this, along with the necessary hand seals, as Asuma was cautious not to burden his already fragile character. Naruto was aware of his duties. With less than 2 weeks left until the exams were held. Learning these new skills would be a daunting task, but it would also be rewarding. It was clear to Naruto that his Fuinjutsu was not the only factor that made up his skill set, as it was quite a mess. Afterward, he could sense that a complete recovery of the damage sustained during the previous mission was still to be done. He eventually arrived at his cottage and slept in his bed without bothering to change. I say, damn it. I have never had to spend an excessive amount of time recovering. He realized that the trident business had the potential to cause his death. Naruto was aware that the Kyuubi had informed him about the weapon's greater strength than he had initially believed. A demon of the same magnitude as the Kyuubi would be terrified by it. All I need to do is ask the elderly man or pervert if they know about Six Paths Guy. According to all the books that referenced him, he was supposed to be a mere myth. The fox is not willing to divulge any information. Naruto's ability to decipher secrets was typically straightforward. His stealth seal was responsible for that, even when he lived among the Hyuga. What allowed him to uncover something that appeared to be undocumented? Furthermore, Naruto was aware of his own inability to find it, much like how he could not. Additionally, similar to the case of the enigmatic scroll from Gato's office that Konoha will now be researching for cryptology, Natsu had a clear understanding of what keeping secrets would be impossible without close supervision. He would need to learn how to use the Gekihoko since there were no other Uzumaki available. Despite his distaste for asking for help, he still found pleasure in doing it and sought assistance from others. It's not difficult to learn new jutsus, but understanding obscure topics like this can be challenging. Like Shikamaru, Naruto would yawn before falling asleep and find it difficult. Kiba yelled out, "Hey Naruto," when the blonde arrived at their training ground the following day. Describe how you accomplished this. Naruto's response was met with disapproval from Kiba, who allowed only 1 day of leave. He asked, "What?" after seeing the horrified look on his face. He shuddered for a moment, saying, "My instructors at the Hyuga clan, I was in Japan, made me practice that one because I needed to refine my chakra control. The Kage Bunshin challenge was a tough one to master. It was a form of torture that bordered on being extreme." "You were in a completely different place," Kurenai observed, watching Kiba's shock and Hinata wake up from his fall. "What's the story behind what happened, Naruto?" "I'll take a closer look at the reflection." The initial challenge was to produce the leaf through means such as cutting or burning. It was common for both individuals to be just. I had to manage the amount of chakra I used, especially since it was a challenging task. The leaf's exploding could be caused by lack of attention or excessive effort, as Naruto joked. Reviewed dozens of well-made shirts that were considered good enough for their age. The moment Kiba laughed was so sweet that Hinata blushed, as she thought about what it would have looked like. The difficulty level was increased by the fact that you utilized 2 distinct chakra types, Hinata remarked. It's a reasonable question that would be relevant. The leaf was easily combed without much effort. Cutting was a more challenging task. Naruto's expression was serious, but not with the rest of his head. As a result, I have learned to differentiate between my own chakra and the fox's chakra. They took notice of my mistake with the Byakugan and made other chakra control exercises more feasible. By comparison, it's relatively easy as long as I didn't overuse my chakra. The scarcity of chakra is so great that it makes most things impractical. Kiba expressed, "That's why you always mess up the basics when you first enter the academy." Jiraiya shared with me that I had a high amount of chakra, which made it hard for me to perform activities that required minimal energy. Still unable to execute the standard Bunshin no Jutsu, such as an example. I repeatedly overload them, and the outcome is unfavorable. Once I learned, I was able to perform the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu maneuver without any difficulty. Kurenai stated that regular shinobi typically have small chakra reserves and must work hard to develop them. Your guest created the seemingly unrelated problem of having huge reserves before learning how to properly use it. Naruto-kun was asked by Hinata if she could present him with a leaf. Naruto gave attention to the leaf, then cut it in half. After holding onto the two pieces, Naruto frowned and the leaf erupted. With her Byakugan, Hinata observed it all and observed that Naruto had shaped his chakra. At the futon level, "Can you repeat that?" she inquired. Naruto acquiesced to his commands. Despite feeling uneasy about her gaze at him and slight tilt towards him. How can this be explained? In Hinata's surprise, he asked, "Why did you shape your chakra before cutting the leaf?" Once I had mastered the art of keeping my chakra separate, it was relatively effortless to learn how to cut or burn leaves. The process of burning is straightforward, as a leaf can be consumed by the chakra it contains. In essence, if you allow it to burn with enough energy, it will start to ignite and burn. With a sheepish expression, Naruto smiled at her. The chakra's function is compromised if you don't fully open it. He imitated an explosion with his hands. The wind chakra was a bit more challenging. In the final analysis, it was a matter of creating two fields of chakra that collided and sharpened each other. I am clueless about the way to do it for water. He remarked on the earth and looked at Kiba and Akamaru. Naruto's statement is accurate. The exercise is not effective if you simply transform your chakra into an object. The paper I provided is derived from an uncommon tree species and functions as a simple conductor for your chakra. Essentially, it performs the task for you. Kurenai stressed the importance of figuring out the trick for things like an ordinary leaf that do not conduct chakra effectively. The specific way you use and draw on your chakra can greatly enhance your skill. Learning the shape of a jutsus requires skill, not just the ability to control chakras. In essence, this exercise encompasses both at the fundamental level. We will not receive any assistance, Kiba stated. Kurenai sarcastically retorted, "If you wanted to make things easy, then that's why you shouldn't be a Shiite." These are challenging situations, and they are reasonable enough. Nonetheless, the benefits are equally impressive. Naruto gave a grunt and made his way to the riverbank. He and a multitude of clones endeavored to put to death the futon that Asuma had trained him on. Let's take a closer look at this one. Naruto and half of his clones were responsible for performing the hand seals when they heard voices from rats, snakes, horses, and dogs. Half of the clones indebted at a few meters with the words, tiger, rabbit, dog, ram, dragon. Despite the wind's gentle whistling, it persisted throughout the day and its impact on the water surface. When Kurenai and her other genin students decided to call it a day, they found Naruto sleeping on the riverbank. "It's a small wonder," she said, as she observed Akamaru approaching the boy. He must have been exhausted in his current state by the feedback from what the clones had learned. After the sleepy genin reported Akamaru's bite, which was not effective due to his barking, Group 8 returned to rest. Kurenai's words, "Hokage-sama," were heard as soon as she entered the office and closed the doors. The woman who was usually calm and collected had asked to see him, prompting Sarutobi Hiruzen to frown and wonder what happened when he said, "Kurenai. Hokage-sama, I have some important news to share with you." Is Naruto the subject of discussion? We endeavored to educate the team on how to use and defeat genjutsu by training them. Despite Naruto's inability to perform genjutsu properly, it was not unexpected that he had the opportunity to deceive his own academy by saying yes, as Hiruzen inquired. In the process of jujutsu, a person's ability to manipulate the chakra flows in their victim is dependent on another practitioner. I was unable to execute that on Naruto. Naruto had two seals on him, one on his right hand and the other on her stomach, which hindered the genjutsu from attaching them, as Hinata told me. My ability to cast illusions on Naruto was compromised by the combination of his chakra with the Kyuubi's chakra and another seal, which disrupted all other abilities. Hiruzen nodded in agreement. I knew for a fact that fully trained Jinchuriki were virtually immune to the use of genjutsu. Even if their hosts were caught, the bijou would still undermine the illusion. Kurenai remarked that Naruto has some work to do before he can assert full control over the Kyuubi. What was the purpose of the second seal? I've heard reports from the academy that suggest he was not immune to genjutsu, so what was new about the new seal? I have knowledge of Naruto's second seal, Hiruzen declared. I cannot or will not reveal that information. The secret is undisclosed. And with valid reasons. It's not necessary for me to ask you to remain silent, as it is often the case in Naruto. He refrained from expressing his concerns about the potential consequences of Naruto losing control of the Kyuubi, as genjutsu was the only weakness that the creature had. Nevertheless, it meant that Naruto's vulnerability towards genjutsu now makes it difficult for others to take advantage of. Kurenai himself remarked that, yes, Hokage-sama, and any future exchange would be futile. Although she recognized the exceptional nature of the seal on Naruto's hand, it was uncommon for a seal to be able to perform this feat on genjutsu. However, Naruto did many things he should not have done. She began to accept Kakashi's assessment of Naruto as the village's most unpredictable ninja. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content. Support the original author by clicking their profile link in the pinned comment of the first video of this series. They deserve the love. Want early access and exclusive content? Join my Patreon community, link below. Your support fuels these videos. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay entertained, stay safe.